Shall I change it on the Mayor's procedure note as well? I've got time, I'll do it now.
Evening, colleagues. Please be seated. Right, before I formally start the business meeting of City Council, could I remind members to use the microphones when speaking this evening to ensure that everyone in the room and watching online is able to hear everything. Apologies?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. We have apologies from Councillors Lowson, Frew, Rahman, Sathian, Campion, Lambert, Kemp, Avai, Huddart, PJ Morrissey and Christine Morrissey.
Thank you very much. Any others? No? Okay, thank you very much. Item 2, minutes of the last meeting. Does Council agree to the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of November 2025? Agreed? Right. Official announcements. There's one official announcement. Members may have seen an email from the monitoring officer regarding whether councillors should declare a personal interest in relation to their membership of the local government pension scheme for item 19 on today's agenda. The monitoring officer has advised that this is a matter for individual members. However, if you wish to declare such an interest, please ensure it is recorded on the declaration form or in person before the item is taken. Correspondence. No correspondence. Petitions. No petitions have been received. So now we come to public question time. 3 requests to address Council have been accepted for the agenda. Standing Order 11A of the Council Procedure Rules allows a continuous period of up to 15 minutes to allow members of the public to ask questions or to address the Council. Written responses will be provided if the time limit is exceeded. So we'll come on to question 1. Can I invite Graham Godfrey from Acorn, please, to ask a question about selective licensing schemes in Newcastle? And I gather Councillor Mains is going to respond.
Good evening. So, city-wide landlord licensing would be the best way for the council to raise significant funds to improve housing enforcement and to protect private tenants. Yet, under the current selective licensing scheme, the council is actually removing coverage, such as the East End Terraces area, despite Councillor Mains indicating that there was a good case to renew it. Acorn, the community union, have this year seen multiple cases of disrepair and mismanagement from Jesmond and Heaton, including broken windows, broken elevators, that have kept elderly residents trapped in their apartment for years. Why should private tenants in all areas of the city not be protected by landlord licensing? A universal license would provide the resources for the council to survey the housing conditions for all private tenants in the city. And if there isn't currently enough evidence for a universal license in Newcastle, then why isn't this quantitative data being collected?
Thank you very much. I now call on Councillor Maynes to respond.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And thank you for the question. Property licensing aligns with the Council's overall strategic approach to housing and key priorities. Licensing is a complementary tool that works alongside other existing work programmes and initiatives. Currently, local authorities have power to introduce licensing in privately rented homes in order to tackle problems in their area, such as low housing, persistent antisocial behaviour, poor housing conditions, high levels of deprivation and high levels of crime. These issues were looked at in 2024 when we reviewed our selective licensing areas, and a decision was made by Cabinet to licence the following based on strong evidence: Columbia Grange, Cowgate, Denton Court, Leamington, West End Terraces and a series of streets in Scotswood. We're currently preparing an evidence report for further schemes to look at licensing for the private sector housing in Byker and parts of Elsick and Scotswood not covered by the above schemes, because there was an existing scheme in place which does run out next year. Over the last 5 years, we've carried out over 8,000 inspections, and our evidence does not support the fact that there is significant disrepair in a large proportion of our private housing stock. And whilst we still find problems, the main issues in the private rented sector are deprivation, ASB and poor management standards. Whilst heating and adjustment are not covered by selective licensing, they are covered by additional licensing and mandatory licensing of shared properties. Of course, we'll continue with our inspection programme, and if the situation changes, we can review our position. We are aware that a group of residents have raised some issues with an older block of flats in Jesmond because of single glazing. With older properties, we must consider the condition of the property as a whole, and we have arranged to inspect any properties identified against the Housing Health and Safety Rating System. If the group has any issues with particular properties, they should be forwarded to us. We can only use licensing as a tool if there is robust supportive evidence before declaring any scheme to make sure that it will pass the government's evidence test. And I understand that a meeting has been arranged with yourselves, Acorn, and Vicky McDermott and Ed Foster next week on the 8th, and I'm sure then you could pick up some specific cases. And that, I think, would be a great idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Maynes. Graham, you can have a minute to reply if you want to.
Thank you very much. I understand that the central government has the requirements for putting licensing in place, but it seems like a horrific waste and just inefficiency trying to decide where there should be licensing instead of just having universal licensing on the city. Another issue facing residents in Newcastle are bailiffs coming to their door for debt that has been racked up unjustly, sometimes from ridiculously small fines. Newcastle City Council sent 15,000 bailiffs to our houses last year. You sent 5,000 bailiffs to people who couldn't pay council tax. 2/3 of bailiffs harass people.
Lord Mayor, isn't this a second question? This wasn't a question that has been submitted.
Well, he has a minute to reply.
That's fair enough.
Have we had
Karen Kilgore, you're pushing our people further into poverty. Paul Frew, you are sending thugs to the houses of people you are supposed to represent.
Mr. Godfrey, I think you've had more than your minute. Sorry, it wasn't up on the screen. So thank you very much. You've made your point. We now move on to question
Acorn
2.
would like a meeting with the council.
Okay. Well, if you speak to Councillor Maynes or write to her, I'm sure she'll be receptive to that. So, right. Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Godfrey.
We want a bailiff-free Britain.
Mr. Godfrey, thank you. Right, question 2. Can I invite Stephen Salidis to ask a question about walking and cycling paths in Scotswood?
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Can you get closer to the microphone,
all
please?
right, yes. I've forgotten what to do here. So, some 20 years ago, when the large housing estate at Scotswood was being planned, it was agreed that the strategic cycling and walking path to its southern edge would be significantly upgraded, such as street lighting, resurfacing, widening and so on, by the developers at their expense, to assist the residents and the wider public to travel sustainably to the city centre, to the quayside and points further to the west. However, despite the majority of the site now being built out, there's been no change to the main pedestrian and cycle path, which is still unlit after dark, which is after 4 p.m. in winter, as people can see outside. It's narrow, it's overgrown, and it's still pockmarked from burnt out cars from the 1990s. The single connection from this major housing estate onto the path in the southeast corner was only open to residents in late summer 2025. My specific questions are: when will the main path be improved as promised many years ago? Why is there only one connection point from this large estate onto the main path? There is a good opportunity for a level connection via St Margaret's Road in the southwest corner, and there should be at least one stepped connection midway along, such as is being proposed in the new Fourth Yards master plan, for example. And this improved accessibility would be maximised, including to bus stops on Scotswood Road.
Okay, thank you. I call on Councillor Hay to respond.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Salidas. The developer is required to meet all planning obligations on a phase-by-phase basis as the scheme progresses. For the phases complete to date, there are no outstanding requirements relating to improvements to Hadrian's Way under the planning permissions already granted. We will, however, revisit the original master plan with the developer to ensure that all obligations for the full scheme are being met appropriately. It is worth highlighting that Hadrian's Way runs through a designated wildlife corridor, which means lighting was not included within the planning obligations for this part of the route. In terms of access, there is currently one connection from Phase 2 of the rise onto Hadrian's Way. A further cycle and footpath link is planned as part of Phase 3, and this will be delivered as that phase of the development is built out, which is expected to be complete within the next 4 years. In addition, new and improved cycle routes have already been provided to the north of the site, giving enhanced connections towards the city centre. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Steve, you want to give a reply? You have 1 minute to do so.
Thank you for your response. I think there is possibly a way to try and there's an opportunity to try and go further than that. I think it's clearly a strategic route, and it's already been 18 years since the building started, and I think we need to speed up delivering these important local schemes for local people both in the rise and also the wider public. But I'm encouraged to hear that it is still intended at least to make some significant improvements.
Okay, thank you very much. Move on to question 3. Can I invite Rachel Locke from Save Newcastle Wildlife to ask a question about nesting sites for the common swift?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. The common swift is a red-listed insectivorous bird. Each spring, these birds make the epic journey from Africa to the UK, usually arriving in the northeast in early May to nest in the eaves of properties, returning each year to the same nest. Many people in Newcastle eagerly await the return of their swifts. Swift numbers declined 66% between 1995 and 2022 and are continuing to decline. This is due to a combination of factors including insect decline, extreme weather, and most notably, loss of nesting sites. These beleaguered birds need all the help they can get. In Newcastle, we have seen existing nesting sites lost as the eaves of council-owned houses are boarded up and nesting opportunities missed as multiple housing estates are built without swift bricks. Newcastle Great Park, the biggest housing development in the northeast with more than 2,500 houses, has seen a minimal number of swift bricks installed, 45 at most. A number of groups across Newcastle have come together in a bid to conserve swifts and create new nesting opportunities. Ward funding has supported these efforts, specifically in Hazelrigg and Gosforth. Whilst this funding is welcome, we are of the opinion that Newcastle City Council could and should be doing much more to support cavity nesting birds, particularly swifts, by securing swift bricks in all new developments through the planning system. We know that nationally a decision may have been made not to mandate swift bricks. However, we can still secure them in Newcastle, especially when other councils are mandating them. The Newcastle and North Tyneside Biodiversity Action Plan included a number of measures for urban birds, and the draft North of Tyne Local Nature Recovery Strategy, currently out for consultation, identifies swift as an important species. It specifically recommends maintaining and expanding semi-natural habitats to ensure a healthy population of insects on which swifts can feed. It also states that it is possible to incorporate swift nesting sites into new or existing buildings through using specially designed nest boxes or through features such as swift bricks. Evidence suggests that internally fitted swift bricks have a higher success rate, having zero maintenance requirements and improved thermal regulation by being integrated within buildings. Ambition for Newcastle swifts is somewhat lacking in the draft nature recovery strategy, simply suggesting it is possible to incorporate swift nesting sites into buildings. Brighton and Hove Council has supplementary planning guidance on when and how many swift bricks need to be incorporated into development, and advice on how they should be sited. We understand Wiltshire Council requires 2 swift bricks per dwelling, while Cotswold District Council requires 3, which are secured by condition. With the above in mind, will Newcastle City Council's Cabinet Member for Biodiversity secure the future of swifts and other cavity nesting birds by introducing a requirement for swift bricks and/or boxes in all new residential development and major refurbishments in Newcastle, as well as publish and promote planning guidance on swift bricks and monitor compliance through the planning process? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now call on Councillor Hay to respond.
Thank you for your question, Ms Locke. I'm responding on behalf of Councillor Sathian, who is unwell. The Council has a duty to conserving and enhancing biodiversity through our local planning authority function, a duty that applies to habitats and species throughout the city. Over 200 features for swifts have been retrofitted into properties during major re-roofing works in Fenham between 2020 and 2023, and the ecology team continues to consult with internal teams within the council to ensure that potential for impacts on swifts are considered and compensated for, while enabling the council to maintain and improve our housing stock. While the council does not have a specific policy relating to swifts, they are noted within the Newcastle and North Tyneside Biodiversity Action Plan, and therefore impacts on them are a material consideration in the planning process. The requirement for integrated nesting boxes suitable for use by a range of urban bird species, including swifts, is regularly included as a condition of planning permission for applications throughout the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rachel, if you'd like, you can have up to 1 minute to reply.
Thank you. Thank you for the response, Councillor Hay. So in relation to the case in Fenham, that was back in 2020, I believe, when Save Newcastle Wildlife and Your Homes Newcastle, along with Wild West End, had a bit of an altercation because roofing works were taking place during the nesting season. We understand that, we had ongoing dialogue with YHN and we got some good practice in place, but unfortunately that didn't work as people had hoped. So the swifts, there's a few around there now, but it's definitely impacted the population. And rather more worryingly than that, this year scaffolding also appeared on council properties in the nesting season, and it was only because of vigilance of local people that we sort of stopped the work again in the nesting season. In relation to the Biodiversity Action Plan, that's obviously out of date, which is why I referenced the Local Nature Recovery Strategy, which will be a material consideration. So what the question was sort of asking was, can that be reinforced in the Local Nature Recovery Strategy to make sure that we do secure that? There's other councils across the country doing it, so we can follow suit. And that ongoing monitoring as well would be really, really useful. Because I know from my experience Can
you sum up, please?
Sorry.
Can you sum up, please?
Yeah, just in the Great Park, there's been like a minimal number of boxes installed. So we need to make sure that the new properties and refurbishments are incorporated in them.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you to all our members of the public who have asked questions today. We'll move on with the rest of the business now. Item 7, the Treasury Management Report. I'll invite Councillor Kilgour to present the report, to be seconded by Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This update covers our Treasury management activity for the first half of this year. But more importantly, it tells a simple story. Our finances are being managed carefully, responsibly, and with real discipline. Across the Council, our finance teams work tirelessly, often behind the scenes, to keep us financially strong and resilient. Their efforts are reflected in the fact that our performance so far this year is fully in line with the prudential indicators we agreed back in March. The biggest change this year has been the repayment of 2 LOBO loans, together worth £27 million. Aside from that, our borrowing position has remained stable. As of the 30th of September, our total loans stood at £614.3 million, mostly from the Public Works Loans Board, and all well within the limits set by this Council. And in terms of cash flow, we held balances of £112.1 million at the end of September, kept mostly in instant access accounts, so we're prepared for any further LOBO activity. In short, this is a picture of steady, well-judged financial management that supports our wider ambitions for the city. Staying financially resilient is getting harder every year, especially in a national climate where councils face rising demand and we have a legacy of 14 years of shrinking resources. The difficulties seen in other authorities show what happens when local government is asked to do more with less, and they underline why we must use every tool at our disposal to safeguard our finances. The fact that in Newcastle we haven't had to make major changes to our Treasury strategy is a credit to strong local leadership and prudent financial management. Our improved security and liquidity indicators, along with reduced borrowing and fewer short-term loans this year, demonstrate the impact of that approach. And we do this while remaining ambitious for Newcastle, an ambitious, confident and growing city with a clear vision for its future. This work takes real diligence, and I want to thank Councillor Frew, who's unable to attend this evening, Mark Nicholson, our Chief Finance Officer, and his team, and colleagues across the Council for their continued commitment to responsible financial stewardship. I move the report, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. I should point out before I bring in Councillor Hare that I do have a bit of a bug and I've been coughing a lot, so don't be alarmed or anything. I'll try not to. I'll drink lots of water. Councillor Hare to second the report.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to second the Treasury Management Mid-Year Review. This report gives us a clear and reassuring picture of how the Council's finances are being managed. It shows that we continue to act responsibly, transparently and in line with the National Code of Practice that requires us to monitor performance. The headline is that Newcastle remains in a strong and well-managed position. Borrowing has reduced over the first 6 months of the year, helped by the repayment of loans without penalty, and we remain comfortably within the borrowing limits previously agreed by Council. That is a sign of a careful stewardship and prudent decision-making. The report also demonstrates that our approach to risk is sound. We are managing our debt profile sensibly, maintaining stability over the long term and continuing to prioritise security when investing the Council's cash balances. These are fundamentals of good Treasury management and they remain firmly in place. Newcastle is a confident, ambitious city and managing our finances well is essential to supporting that ambition. What we see in this report is the Council continuing to do the basics well, keeping borrowing under control, protecting public money and complying fully with the prudential indicators agreed earlier in the year. There are no surprises, no recommendations for change and no areas of concern. The work already underway puts us in a stable position for the remainder of the year, and this report gives members and residents the assurance that we are managing things responsibly and effectively. I'm pleased to second the report.
Thank you very much. I now call on Councillor Mark Mitchell. And can Councillor Hartley please be ready?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. In general, I would like to support what is set out in this report, and having talked to the CFO and dealt with these matters quite a lot at the former Finance and Budget Monitoring Committee, we certainly have talked a lot about this. There is one issue which I will highlight and continue to highlight to Council, and that is this. As you will see from the investments, we currently hold 112 million in cash. What is not being reflected in this report and continues to be of concern to us is that interest earned on that cash, which of course is to be welcomed, it is income to the Council, is effectively still being completely eaten up by losses on the property portfolio. And that is interest that could otherwise be being used to provide better services or to look at other spending or cost savings across the city. So we continue to be concerned that the losses on the property portfolio are not being addressed and are relevant to this report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can Councillor Ferguson stand ready, please? Councillor Hartley.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Treasury management is one of the clearest windows into whether the Council is governing openly, prudently and in the public interests. And thank you to Mark Nicholson and team for this report. But too many residents feel decisions are made about them, not with them. And that is why Greens, a growing group of Greens, welcome Councillor Chisholm, keep pushing for transparency, deliberative democracy and participatory budgeting so communities decide where investment goes. Take the Pride in Place programme. The government promises neighbourhood empowerment, yet we already hear rumours of backsliding, including suggestions that Labour MPs with weakening mandates might get to pick which councillors sit on neighbourhood boards. And when transparency isn't prioritised, suspicion fills the gap. We saw this with the Crown Plaza affair, with the Tees Valley incinerator, with the funding for the Mercury Music Prize, not taking away from Sam Fender's worthy victory, with West End and Leisure Centre, and yes, with the Biker District heating scandal. Though I thank the council directors for working openly with me and to keep residents engaged on that matter, but not to mention also the mysterious shrubbery, weeding and graffiti windfall. In each case, limited publicly available detail created the impression that something was being hidden. Even framed as commercial sensitivity, we must recognise that secrecy breeds conspiracy, which corrodes trust. The anger we heard from Acorn is a testimony to that. Which brings me to the Lobo loans. The report tells us that £27 million of Lobo loans were repaid when lenders exercised their options, and that this came at no penalty. But we need clarity. Can Cabinet confirm what funds were actually used to repay that £27 million? Was it new borrowing, internal cash balances? We also learned that a new £360,000 loan was taken out because the rate was significantly lower than elsewhere, yet the report states unexpected extra income of £3.6 million from higher investment returns. So why was new borrowing necessary at all? The report gives us a single average interest rate of 3.15%, but we don't have a breakdown of the average rates for each category of debt: Lobos, public works, other fixed rate and other variable rate borrowing. The interest rate risk indicator currently groups Lobos with fixed rate debt, even though lenders may vary rates before maturity. Will Cabinet commit to separating Lobos into their own category with totals and percentages so the public can see clearly the exposure? The report also states that lenders could call £38 million of Lobos before March and £141 million over the next few years. So what is the strategy if those lenders do exercise their options, and at what projected cost? By putting more information into the public domain, the Council can show that it does indeed have nothing to hide and strengthen the democratic mandate. If we want residents to believe in local government again, Lord Mayor, we must start by letting them in. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes? You want to speak? Yes?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. You had called me to speak, and I'd originally said that I wasn't going to, because I think that Councillor Mitchell said all that needed to be said from the Lib Dem perspective. But I'm struck by some of the comments from Councillor Hartley there, and I thought it was worth clarifying for the purpose of this meeting that As it stands, the Treasury Management Report is a kind of fairly standard document, something that we're required to report on a statutory basis. Some of the questions being raised there are very interesting. Those of us who previously sat on Finance Scrutiny Committee probably have a bit more familiarity with that matter, and I think it reinforces the point, certainly that our group have made, that finance scrutiny is a specialist topic that deserves its own particular forum to get into the kind of questions that have just been addressed there, and I think it's something that we could all reflect on in the Chamber this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kilgar, you have the right to reply.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Who knew that a standard report could be so contentious? Councillor Mitchell, I'd like to assure you that there is a delivery plan for the property portfolio, and that will come to Cabinet in the very near future. Councillor Hartley, I think most of the comments I was going to make have been made by Councillor Ferguson. And Councillor Ferguson's points around scrutiny committee, that would mean 10 members of council presumably would have that specialist knowledge that you're alluding to. I think actually all members of council should have that financial understanding, and I think actually what we're highlighting here is a training need for members of the opposition. Other than that, Lord Mayor, I'm very happy to move the report.
Okay, thank you. Does council agree to note the report? Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Item 8, fair pay policy. I'll now invite Councillor Ellis to present the report, to be seconded by Councillor Phillipson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. First, I'd like to take a moment to thank all council employees. The city runs on your hard work and dedication, and you are indeed our greatest asset. However heartfelt, a thank you is not enough, which is why, as a council, we continue to strive for fairness, consistency and equality, why we adopted the real living wage, why we ensure you have a strong voice, and we work closely with the trade unions to shape policy and working conditions. For example, this year we have signed Unison's anti-racism and disability employment charters. We have achieved level 3 disability confident leader status and have a greater focus on reducing barriers for women. It is right and fair that we pay special attention to both the gender pay gap and ethnicity pay gap. Although our record in both is good in comparison with other areas, we recognise that there's a way to go, and we will not lose sight of the importance of further improvement. The pay policy statement details the pay structure and pay gap analysis. It acknowledges the Council's continued accreditation with the Living Wage Foundation, how we listen to the needs of our employees, and how we have developed new ways of working to benefit our staff, the Council and the City. I move that the Council approves the report as recommended by Constitutional Committee.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Phillipson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to second this report, and in doing so, take the opportunity to pay my thanks and gratitude to all council employees for their hard work and dedication to our city. As Councillor Ellis has stated, they are our greatest asset. The pay policy statement details the pay structure and pay gap analysis. It also acknowledges the Council's continued accreditation with the Living Wage Foundation. I'm proud that we took the decision to adopt the real living wage, and we continue to take steps to close the gender pay gap, which continues to be less than the national average, and the ethnicity pay gap less than the regional average. But we realise we need to do more, and our partnership working with the trade unions, I'm sure, will continue to help us to shape policies and working conditions that will benefit our employees, and by doing so, the residents of our city. I second the report, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Phillipson. I'll now call on Councillor Mark Mitchell to speak, to be followed by Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to lend my support to this report and to echo the comments that have been made already about the hard work that our staff do and ensuring that they are paid fairly and correctly. There is one group of people who are not mentioned in this report, and I think it is worth mentioning tonight, and that is apprentices in the city. It surprised me when I first found the numbers on how few comparatively apprentices Newcastle City Council employs, and I think as we attempt to grow the economy in the North East, Newcastle could at least consider doing more to employ more apprentices and bring more young and not so young people into the workforce. But that being said, with that comment, I fully support everything that's in this report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ferguson? No? Okay. Well, nobody else has asked to speak. Councillor Ellis, you have the right to reply. Okay, thank you very much. Does Council agree to the recommendations in the report? Thank you very much. Item 9, Independent Remuneration Panel Report on Members' Allowances. I'll now call again on Councillor Ellis to present the report, to be seconded again by Councillor Phillipson.
Thank you. Councillors seek election because they care about their communities. It's not for the money. There are easier ways to earn money. However, it is important to note that if it were not for councillor allowances, a great many, me included, would not be able to consider becoming a councillor. Many working class citizens would be excluded and valuable voices lost. Along with, I expect the majority of the chamber, I believe that we should not be in a position to decide councillors' allowances and that it should be taken out of councillors' hands. But as we do not currently have that option, I am pleased that last year we agreed that the raise this year should be no more than that of the lowest waged employee. I'd like to thank the members of the Independent Remuneration Panel for the work that's gone into producing the report, and I move that the Council agree the scheme as recommended.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Phillipson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I shall be brief. Nothing to say really other than to say I'm pleased to second the report, and I totally agree with the comments that have been made by Councillor Ellis. Formally second the report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Phillipson. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to hear the comments that have been made from members opposite in the chamber around the manner in which the allowances are set. I think there's a cross-party agreement that the mechanism that we have is unsatisfactory, that it isn't something that we should be deciding upon at a local level. And you can see whenever you look across councils across the country, including here in the region, that there can be a wide variation in the members' allowances received, depending on the decisions that have been taken over the years, and yet the role is largely the same, certainly across unitary authorities like Newcastle is. And so that speaks to a need to recognise the requirements and the demands of the role, and to set out a system that means that we are not coming back here every year looking at this in this way. This is a point that I have made repeatedly over the years. I will continue to make it until there's a change, but I do think that the direction of travel set out last year that set an expectation around the lowest paid was the right one, and that is the position that we're in. Nobody particularly likes to have to go through this particular item each year, but it is, I think, positive that Newcastle is at least showing some restraint whilst ultimately recognising that if we are to attract the kind of people that the residents of our city deserve to represent them in this chamber, we need to acknowledge the time and the effort that each of us puts in the allowances scheme. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Mark Donnelly has indicated he'd like to speak.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Equating this matter to a Christmas carol, the ghost of Christmas past brings the same matter forward of councillors awarding themselves a pay increase or Christmas present. The ghost of Christmas present. We know that residents frowned upon this matter, and despite asking the government to remove this from councillors' control, we sit here today in this chamber preparing to increase our allowances. And Lord Mayor, the ghost of Christmas is yet to come. Many of us won't be here next May, and I think that in the spirit of Ebenezer, we need to be frugal. And as long as council tax is going up, allowances should be frozen. Bar humbug, Lord Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Ellis, you have the right to reply.
I have nothing to add to the statement I've already.
Thank you very much. Does Council agree to implement the panel's recommendations outlined in the report? You want to vote? Okay, it's Councillor Donnelly. There's been sufficient time for that, so we'll move to the vote, which won't be a name vote. Right, everybody who can do finished voting electronically. Can those of you who weren't able to vote electronically who are in favour of the report, please show now. Okay. Those of you who are against the report, please indicate now. Thank you. Any abstentions? Nope. Thank you. Okay, there were 44 in favour and 9 against. Thank you very much. Item number 10, appointment of independent members to Audit and Standard Committee. Oh, it's you again, Councillor Ellis.
Well, thank you again, Lord Mayor. I'd like to thank Les Watson, John Rawling and Alison Fellows for their work on the committee, and move that the Council agree the reappointment of the independent members to Audit and Standards Committee. Thank you very much. Councillor Phillipson. Okay, thank you very much. Fine myself. Councillor Mark Mitchell? No, okay, fine. Councillor Ellis, would you like to sum up the debate? Or? Okay, thank you. Does Council agree to the appointments in the report? Thank you very much. 11, questions by members. 2 questions are marked for oral reply, and they were published on the agenda and are deemed to have been put. Under Standing Order 9 of the Council Procedure Rules, 15 minutes is allocated to this item. Written responses will be provided if the time runs out. So question 1. The first question is from Councillor Hartley to Councillor Iram Ali regarding antisocial firework use and Operation Vulcan. Councillor Ali.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I've left my glasses home tonight, so I'm trying my best to read. So, when fireworks are... Thank you very much for the question, first of all. When fireworks are misused, it does cause alarm and distress to residents and their pets. Enforcement around the letting of fireworks late at night is undertaken by the police. Over the past few years, we have seen over 200 reported complaints, and already in October this year, we have seen over 230 complaints linked to fireworks. The main issue is the availability for sale of fireworks. Some premises have licences to sell fireworks all year round, but fireworks are also purchased on the net. Internet fireworks sales may not comply with UK product standards on safety and noise. In the UK, it is illegal to use fireworks between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m, with extended times allowed for bonfire night and New Year's Eve, Diwali and Chinese New Year. For consumer fireworks, there is a legal limit of 120 dB, and it is against the law to throw or set off fireworks in any public place. Regarding professional fireworks, Category 4 display fireworks are not subject to the 120 dB limit because they can only be sold to licensed professionals. Community safety, trading standards, police and fire service over the last few weeks have been putting on specialist patrols as part of the Operation Vulcan to deal with the sale of fireworks, illegal bonfires and antisocial behaviour. The community safety team identified over 50 properties across the city where combustibles were being stored and likely to be used for bonfires. These were reported and most removed in advance of November the 5th. Patrols also enabled more on-the-ground intelligence to be gathered regarding fires, fireworks and antisocial behaviour. The fire service worked in schools to promote the safety message around fires and fireworks. All premises licensed to sell fireworks are checked for compliance, with underage test purchases carried out. The fire service are the licensing authority for shops selling fireworks. Intelligence is gathered on illegal sales. This year there have been 2 big seizures of fireworks made by the fire service following intelligence on illegal sales. Internet sales are a key issue, Lord Mayor, and we are writing to the Office for Product Safety and Standards about it. More can be done at a national level to legislate tighter controls on fireworks sales, noise levels and times of use. Public safety is very much all our concerns, and we are asking for these issues to be reviewed by government. Newcastle City Council is formally writing to the Home Secretary to raise concerns with DEFRA and the Home Secretary and the Office for Product Safety and Standards to raise the points raised in the Council motion with the aim to seek changes to the current laws. Our proposals include a call for a national ban on the public sale of fireworks, restricting their use to public displays only, require that all professional displays use quiet fireworks and that displays are well advertised and display sites are responsibly cited. A licensing scheme is introduced for formal firework displays to ensure safety, appropriate noise levels and compliance with Safety Advisory Group recommendations. That a max noise level of 70 dB is set for fireworks. Provide greater funding and powers for police, fire services and local authorities to ensure these measures and prevent illegal sales or antisocial use.
Can you sum up, please?
Yes, and finally to learn from Scotland's 2022 legislation to grant English and Welsh councils similar powers to regulate or prohibit fireworks locally. I hope you agree that these measures will seriously help us take control of these issues. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ali. Can Councillor Higgins stand ready? Councillor Hartley, do you have a supplemental?
Well, thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Ali, for setting out what was in the motion that I brought to full council last month, and I'm really glad that we've got the support across the chamber on this. I mean, 5th of November was absolute disgrace this year. I mean, there was a car filled with fireworks going around the biker estate, firing out rockets like a scene from Mad Max. We can't let that happen again. Operation Vulcan involves several agencies, but when things escalate, residents don't know who actually is in charge. So my question is, will the Cabinet commit to a single, clearly identified coordinating lead on the night and a simple community contact point in each ward, so intelligence reaches the right people fast enough to prevent these situations becoming dangerous?
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. So as I said earlier, that the police very much are in control on some of the issues with regards to the illegal sales, fireworks in inappropriate places, and especially the events that take place on Bonfire Night. I will certainly take your recommendations and discuss in Cabinet what we can do further to make sure that residents know who to call and can get all the support that we can provide. So I will certainly take that back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Higgins.
Yes, thank you very much, Lord Mayor. My question is, whilst local initiatives such as Operation Vulcan have achieved limited success, as I noted in my own ward when I've had conversations with the police around bonfire night, however, does the Cabinet member agree with me that stronger legislation is still required? Does Councillor Ali therefore welcome the steps taken by our local MP Chion Wara and others to raise this matter on behalf of local residents as a matter of some political urgency?
Councillor Ali.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins. Yes, I do really welcome Chion Wara's efforts in this regard. We absolutely need tighter legislation because the Council doesn't have the powers that the national government could give to us, and as I've alluded to Scotland's 2022 legislation to give councils those powers. I think it's really important to understand that this is a coordinated approach. There are partner agencies that can work, that we can all work together and make sure that people, as Councillor Harty has alluded to, the fact that know where to report, but also with regards to the sales of fireworks, I think that is something that we absolutely need government to be on our side on. And I understand that this is not just a local issue, this is an issue across the country, and we absolutely need stronger legislation to tackle. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, both of you. We now come to oral question 2, which is from Councillor Byrne to Councillor Kilgour. So, Councillor Kilgour, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, Council does agree that, Cabinet, does agree that residents are both stakeholders in the city and customers of council services. The recently introduced customer commitment sets out clear standards for how the council interacts with everyone, whether residents, visitors or businesses. It provides a benchmark for service delivery and ensures accountability in our communication and response. We introduced these commitments because we recognise the need for standards that celebrate our customer service. They aim to make interactions clearer, easier, ensure fairness and strengthen trust between the council and the people we serve, ensuring that the people of Newcastle know what they can expect when contacting us. The commitments focus on how residents and customers request services and access information. We also ensure people are informed and involved in decision-making in other ways, and we're committed to openness and accountability in all our decision-making. We publish Cabinet and Council agendas, reports and decisions on our public website in line with the Newcastle Charter and statutory requirements. Key decisions are clearly identified, subject to call-in procedures and supported by equality and impact assessments. Delegated decisions follow a strict audit trail and are published once verified by Democratic Services. We are committed to transparency, and data managed by us should be made available to local people unless there are specific sensitivities in doing so, like protecting vulnerable people or commercial and operational decisions. We do this in line with Local Government Transparency Code. We are reviewing our governance arrangements, including scrutiny processes, and these measures ensure residents can see what decisions are being made, why they're being made, and how they can engage in the process.
Thank you very much. Can Councillor Walker please stand ready? Councillor Byrne, do you have a supplemental?
I do. I'll take it, since Councillor Kilgour has just outlined the legal obligations of the Council, that there are no commitments over and above that in terms of engaging with stakeholders. My supplemental question is, are residents able to access full information about all items of council expenditure? And if not, will the Council commit to making that available in advance of the Council's budget process? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kilgour?
I'm not entirely sure what Councillor Byrne's referring to, but as I said in my original response, we do publish unless there are specific sensitivities in doing so, like protecting vulnerable people or commercial and operational decisions. And we do this in line with the Local Government Transparency Code. So I'm repeating what I've already said, but I think that covers the point that Councillor Byrne made.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, Councillor Byrne, you've asked your supplemental question.
Okay, but she has said something she didn't say in the first place.
Well, okay.
I've just read
if you can sit down, please. Can we stop having the discussion over the chamber? Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I do like when Councillor Byrne stands up to ask a question. I'm waiting for the next one about chemtrails. My only thing around it is just more of a comment than a question on it. And it's just, how does the leader feel around the customer commitment and that benefit that it has back to residents, particularly around using plain English and avoiding jargon? Because I know, for one, when we speak to certain services, or I've spoken to certain services in the working world, they tend to bamboozle people with science, bamboozle people with long words to try and make sure people go, all right, okay, they know what they're talking about. Whereas actually, in fact, we're now using plain English and avoiding jargon to actually make it so residents understand what we're talking about.
Excuse me, Lord Mayor, I'm sorry to intervene, but the councillor just made a comment about me that I didn't hear, so I think it would be helpful if he said it audibly.
Sorry, I didn't hear it either. I think I was coughing at the time. So, anyway,
I don't think it's really relevant.
Councillor Kilgour.
Thank you. Yes, I think that's a good point that you highlight, Councillor Walker. I think it's really important that we provide our information in plain English. It's important for lots of reasons. We need people to understand the work that we do. Some of what we do is very technical. Some language has to remain technical because of legal requirements. However, where we can, we should make it as plain as possible. That helps people, some of our service users, for example, people with learning disabilities. It helps people for whom English isn't their first language. And actually, it's just good practice to make things as easily understood as possible so that people can not only understand but take part in the processes based on the information that they have available to them. So yes, absolutely agree. Okay, thank you very much. You may want to stay there, Councillor Kilgour, as we now come on to the Cabinet Statement. Members will remember this is the new style we're trying out. So I'll now call on Councillor Kilgour to present the report. Yeah, that one. There's only you could make me run, Lord Mayor. I wouldn't run for anybody else. So, thank you, Lord Mayor. It's a pleasure to update members on the incredible work Cabinet is driving across the city. I can't cover everything we're doing, but this month's statement shows the breadth of what we're delivering. Tackling the issues that matter, improving opportunities for residents and making sure Newcastle's voice is heard nationally. A major focus has been on supporting our children and young people. We marked Care Leavers Month, celebrating the impact of care experienced people in our city. Councillor Leslie Story and Stephen Crichton, a care leaver who spoke so passionately in this chamber when we agreed to recognise care experience as a protected characteristic, took this campaign to the House of Lords to push for national change. We also brought parents and professionals together for Baby Week and launched our Every Christmas campaign to ensure every child and young person in our city experiences some festive joy this Christmas. We've been celebrating the well-deserved recognition of our adult social care and prevention teams for their outstanding work protecting adults in our city. The Newcastle Safeguarding Adults Board continues to protect vulnerable adults with distinction, while the brilliant team at Castle Dean have been praised for their person-centred approach by Health Watch. We've kicked off our Christmas and New Year celebrations with more attractions than ever. Now, some may try and talk this city down, but the facts are clear. Footfall is rising, economic impact is rising, and 84% of traders in the Christmas market come from within 20 miles of the city centre. This is Newcastle's festive spirit at its best, and it's growing every year. Our reputation for world-class events continues to grow, and I'm delighted that St James's Park will host 5 games during UEFA 2028. This is another chance to showcase our city on the global stage and boost our hospitality and visitor economy while giving residents and visitors alike unforgettable experiences right here in Newcastle. We're also delivering... Really, Greg? We're also delivering new homes for people who need them most. The first tenants will soon move into Granger Park Road, affordable, ready-to-live-in homes for people at risk of homelessness, properties that also help upskill our own workforce in construction practices, allowing us to reduce our future reliance on contractors for future builds. We're improving accessibility across all our services, from our website to our new customer commitment, ensuring every resident receives the standard of service that they deserve. And we continue to involve communities directly in shaping their city. Consultation on the Fourth Yards Master Plan is open until the 22nd of December, alongside proposals for our £1.5 million worth of investment in inclusive play areas and improvements to council tax support for veterans, the terminally ill and care leavers, all reflecting the political choices of this Labour administration, rooted in fairness, equality, inclusive growth and delivering on our residents' priorities. And finally, like councils across the country, we face serious funding pressures. Despite a strong record of financial management and £400 million worth of savings over 15 years, demand is growing and needs are becoming more complex. We've consistently lobbied government for a fairer needs-based system. And while reinstating the recovery grant is welcome, we await the provisional settlement to understand the full impact on Newcastle. However, in the meantime, we will continue to lobby government, and as leader, I will always fight for our city and our people, and will campaign relentlessly to secure the opportunities and funding that Newcastle's communities deserve, so that everyone can succeed and our city can reach its full potential. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. 5 questions have been received, so I'll be asking each member to read out their question and the Cabinet member will respond to it. So first of all, Councillor Taylor, who will be asking a question to Councillor Samad.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The Cabinet statement says that you want the Christmas market to give residents, tourists and visitors the best possible experience. But do you accept that the current format is causing serious damage to permanent businesses in the area, especially those whose entrances are blocked or hidden by the market stalls or their associated vehicles? Do you agree that it is time to rethink the format of the market so that it genuinely offers something extra, rather than simply moving trade from permanent to temporary traders, or adding overheads to existing traders who feel they need to run an extra stall in order not to lose out on business?
Thank you very much. Councillor Samad.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Taylor, for raising these concerns. We take them seriously and will continue to respond to feedback swiftly and effectively. As part of our commitment to continuous improvement, we are working closely with anyone and engaging directly with vendors, stall by stall and street by street, to adjust vehicle positioning and improve sightlines. A dedicated market management team is now on site to reduce static vehicle presence, keep walkways clear and maintain an open channel for feedback so that we can refine the design in real time. The market has grown significantly in recent years, with a longer duration, an expanded footprint and new attractions designed to support families and the evening economy. These developments inevitably bring new challenges, and we are committed to addressing them collaboratively and with stallholders and businesses. The Christmas market has received positive feedback from local businesses and delivered positive outcomes for vendors. Businesses and stallholders have reported increased footfall and new customer audiences. The footprint now links Grey Street, Granger Street, Old Eldon Square and Nelson Street, drawing visitors past established shops rather than concentrating activity in one area. The Granger Market remains an integral part of the festive experience, with most visitors planning to visit on the same day. With 84% of participating businesses based in the North East, the market plays a vital role in sustaining our local economy, keeping spending within the region and strengthening community supply chains. During the first week of the Christmas market, Eldon Square reported a 30% uplift in footfall compared to the same time last year, showing a marked increase in interest this year. Other businesses have benefited from the market too, with shoppers spending over £3 in other city businesses for every £1 spent at the market. An additional £96 million was spent in the city's permanent businesses by people who only visited the city to attend the market, underlining the market's benefit to permanent traders. While the current format has many strengths, we acknowledge there is room for improvement. We will continue to act on the feedback and enhance the design year on year to make Newcastle Christmas Market the best it can be.
Thank you very much. Now, a question from Councillor Barry Stanners to Councillor Irim Ali.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The statement highlights a range of engagement programmes happening across the city, including the Pride in Place planning, Baby Week, improvements to the customer experience and major consultation exercises. How will Cabinet ensure that the learning from these initiatives is shared across directorates so that community insight consistently improves future service design and decision making? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rowley.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. With regards to consultation on customer commitment, we are sharing updates on our customer experience work with colleagues across the council using a range of methods, including our corporate intranet, presentations and posters, so that we are celebrating successes and best practice. We are using the feedback and learning to continuously improve. With regards to engagement, we have a central engagement team who receive all insight from the various resident engagement exercises so that we can benefit from a rich picture of insight from our residents. We continue to develop those information flows further and are increasingly using technology to analyse the data we gather and identify ways in which the whole organisation can benefit from. We also use other methods to share that insight with colleagues across the council using a range of methods, including our corporate intranet, presentations and posters, so that we are celebrating successes and best practice. We are using the feedback and learning to continuously improve our engagement programmes across the board. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. I now call on Councillor Mark Mitchell to ask a question of Councillor Kilgour, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Having now presented 3 Cabinet reports to Council, does the Leader of Council believe that the new arrangements provide opportunities for all councillors in the Chamber to hold the Cabinet to account?
Thank you very much. Councillor Kilgour.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Mitchell, for your question. As I've said before, this is an iterative process and we'll continue to take feedback on board. Constitutional Committee agreed that a formal review will take place at the 6-month mark and we remain committed to that. But let's remember why full Council introduced Cabinet statements in the first place: to give members timely updates on current issues, achievements, decisions and what's coming next. We have 5 minutes for the statement, 15 minutes for questions, so each Cabinet member highlights key points that show both our progress and our challenges. The intention is simple: to give an up-to-date account of our work and to allow discussion of live issues, far more effective than the old system where Cabinet members were questioned only once a year, were often timed out and ended up replying by email after the event. These statements now sit firmly within our wider governance framework, one that already provides strong and multiple ways of holding Cabinet to account, from budget and policy reports to published decisions, our committee structure, including scrutiny committees and audit and standards committee, and our regular performance reporting. Cabinet is held to account in multiple ways according to standards that are highly regulated by law. And of course, each council meeting includes the opportunity for public questions, petitions and member questions, both written and oral. In this meeting alone, we've had 15 such questions. And if you have a pressing concern, you can, of course, pick up the phone or email us. So to recap, statements are one part of a comprehensive, transparent programme that allows members in this chamber to scrutinise our work throughout the year. They're designed to bring timely issues to your attention, replacing, not replicating, the old, lengthy annual portfolio reports, and we will continue to refine them as we go.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kilgour. Councillor Higgins, please, to ask a question of Councillor Story.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor, and can I thank Councillor Kilgour for her very comprehensive report. The question I'd like to ask is in my role as a long-standing member of the Corporate Parenting Committee, because corporate parenting, of course, is one of the most important roles that we play as councillors. The report describes the celebrations during National Care Leavers Month and outlines the practical steps being taken since recognising care experience as a protected characteristic, including the creation of a cross-directorate task and finish group and a proposed care leavers hub. How will Cabinet ensure that care experienced young people remain directly involved in shaping all these developments and that their voices continue to influence each of the thematic work streams?
Thank you very much. Councillor Story.
Thank you, Councillor Higgins, for highlighting the celebrations that took place during November for our care leavers. And this is a good time to highlight, as you've done, the fact that as corporate parents, every one of us in this chamber are corporate parents. We bear the responsibility for ensuring that our care experienced children and young people receive the support and services that they need in order to achieve their potential, just as any parent would for their child. Newcastle has a significant track record of listening to the views of children and young people throughout the city, and this is a priority for our children's services in all areas. In relation to care leavers, you will recall that it was our care experienced young people who raised the issue of protected characteristics, and as a lead member, I listened and worked with them to push that through this motion. We have a number of opportunities for our care leavers and care experienced young people to contribute to service planning and development in both formal and informal ways. We've got specific groups who work with our children's participation team to share their views and to hold us to account for actions that we agreed to do. And following the care leavers events last month, a number of additional young people have come forward to join that group, which is really great. We utilise the skills and knowledge of individual care leavers in specific areas, such as in the development of the hub, to influence the direction of travel and to come up with ideas around what would be useful in terms of practical advice and support. I can absolutely assure Council that we always seek assistance from our care leavers in relation to helping us shape our offer. It is what we do, and it's part of our everyday work. But more importantly, our care leavers would never allow us to deviate from this. They well and truly hold us to account. So thank you, Councillor Higgins, for that.
Thank you, Councillor Story. Councillor Patson, I see you're in position. Thank you very much. I'll ask a question of Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to see Healthwatch has recently conducted visits to the Castle Dean service and have highlighted positive feedback and high satisfaction with the service. But can the Cabinet member tell us more about the enter-and view visits and the findings from the report itself?
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Patterson, for that. Yes, so enter-and view visits are an independent view of a service. They're led by Healthwatch under their legal powers to review publicly funded health and care services. They're not a formal inspection, but they do provide an independent assessment of practice, how people experience the service, what's working well, and what could be improved. Castle Dean provides a respite service for adults with some of the most complex needs in the city, offering families and carers a valued break while the person accessing support that enhances their well-being and supports their care goals. The Council requested a Healthwatch visit into the service to provide an external check and challenge as part of our continuous learning and improvement approach. And the visit found excellent practice across the service, which include an accessible, personalised and enabling environment, it's easy for me to say, detailed and person-centred care plans, excellent communication between staff and people using the service in line with their communication plans, staff who responded to needs effectively and with great care and compassion, and a culture of positively promoting independence. Most importantly, the feedback from the people who use the service and their families was extremely positive. Families reported a 100% satisfaction rate with the service, with one particular citing trusting the service so much I would let my loved one move in there tomorrow. Staff themselves reported a cohesive work environment where they can make positive difference to people's lives and a very important team ethos. While adult social care operates in a challenging environment nationally, we continue to have some excellent services in the city that we can be truly proud of. Castle Dean exemplifies this, and our commitment to support the city's most vulnerable residents, helping them to live their best lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walker. That concludes that item. Yes, well, we haven't spoken actually, so there is no such thing as a point of personal information. Something I said. Okay.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's just that you said that 5 questions had been received about the Cabinet statement. There was at least a 6th that was submitted by Councillor Peters, and I think for the purpose of Council, I think it's important to share the reason why that was rejected.
Sorry, Councillor. No, I mean, if it was ruled out of order, it was ruled out of order. We've all had questions ruled out of order at one point or another. So I'm very sorry, Councillor Hartley. This item is now finished.
Okay, I'll raise it another way.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Okay, thank you for making that point. Before we go on to the next item, can I say I'm seeing people around the chamber reacting to things. My head's not my own tonight. Perhaps I'm missing things. Can I just remind everyone to treat everyone in the chamber with respect and to listen to them in silence and give them the respect everyone deserves, as we're all elected members of the chamber. Thank you. Item 13, appointments. Does the council agree to the appointments as put? Great. Oh, motions. Earlier than normal. Item 14, ward meeting publicity. I will call on Councillor Mark Mitchell to move this motion, be seconded by Councillor Tracy Mitchell.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. About 5 months after being elected to council, I had the privilege of attending my first ward meeting. An active meeting with over 60 people in attendance. I'm sure they weren't just there to choose between shouting at me, shouting at Councillor Morrissey and shouting at Councillor Kilgar, but a well-attended meeting which talked about a lot of issues relevant to the ward. Fast forward a year and attendance at that meeting was less than half. And I will at this point give my thanks to Mark, who actually explained to me what happened. And that was that we went from a position where every resident in the ward was told about the ward meeting to finding that a selection of residents that was not agreed but with councillors were told about the meeting. And not to criticise the committee's team, but they perfectly legitimately, having been told that they could only deliver certain letters, decided to target people closest to where the meeting was. And that was very obvious in the meeting, that over half the ward had nobody in this meeting. Now, then think about the discussions at council a few months ago, where we all agreed how important ward committees were to the functioning of the council, that they were a key way that councillors could hear from residents and that residents could talk to councillors. This decision to say that ward meetings will no longer be publicised to all residents was not made in this chamber. It was not made at Constitutional Committee. It was not discussed at Finance. Instead, it was made in the dark in a way that I still can't find, and I believe my council colleagues have also not been able to find the details. Now, I'm afraid that a decision that this was too expensive for postage is not a decision that should be being made in secret. This is something that should have been talked to for councillors, because ward meetings matter. They are sometimes the only chance that residents feel that they can get together and talk to councillors, and it is unconscionable that half or more of the residents in each ward don't even get a letter from the council telling them this should be happening. The other point I would make, though, is this should not be up to councillors to deal with. It's been suggested to me that, oh, well, councillors could pay for this out of the ward budget. Well, let me tell you this. If we spend the amount of money it would take from our ward budget to publicise the meeting, that would mean that we would be putting less money into welfare rights service. we would be putting less money into services for residents from the small amounts of money we have. We would be spending less money on things which residents tell us are the priorities. So bluntly, this is a decision that should never have been made. It is not a decision that should be made in secret. It's a decision that councillors should have been told about very clearly and consulted on, rather than being made in back rooms.
Thank you very much. Councillor Tracy Mitchell, the second.
Dear Lord Mayor, I want to start by thanking Councillor Mitchell for asking me to second this motion, highlighting the importance of communication between the council and residents. Ward committees still have a vital role to play in the community. Often it is a time for residents who would not normally contact a councillor to discuss what concerns they have in the area. When we had our ward committee, we were informed that only residents in the vicinity of the venue would receive a letter to publicise the meeting, which equated to about 1,500 households. As we only have one ward committee meeting a year, it is for the whole ward. How can we justify only telling some residents in the ward? Social media does have its place, but many of the residents I speak to do not access social media, and if they do, they still do not see notifications of updates from Newcastle Council. Using ward funds puts pressure on already stretched finances, especially for wards who only receive a few £1,000s. As this money helps to support community groups who, without this money, could not deliver the services they do, without it seems grossly unfair that a chunk of money is being lost from these great services and to be used for the cost of letters to residents. As it was agreed, we should have one ward meeting a year. We have a duty to inform all residents about the meeting, not just a selective few. I am happy to second the motion.
Thank you very much. Can I call on Councillor Iram Ali, please, to speak?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. A core priority of this council is to be cost effective and deliver value for money in the services we deliver for our residents. Ward meetings are a key element of how residents engage with the council and hold members to account, and we must ensure that all resources are used in a sustainable way and proportionate way. However, this motion is simply not a practical, workable or cost-effective proposal. To first identify the number of households who may not have been notified of their local ward meeting, and then to distribute physical letters or flyers to every household would carry a remarkable financial cost for the council, especially at a time when we have seen substantial increases in Royal Mail postage costs, resulting in physical and door-to-door promotion now being the most costly approach. The sensible proposal, therefore, is to continue to use proportionate methods of advertising and awareness raising that are most effective in each ward. We achieve this through advertising meetings on social media, on Let's Talk, notice boards, direct emails, local community groups, informal conversations with residents, mail-outs to residents who previously attended meetings in person, and through contact made with residents via elected members. While attendance at individual ward meetings will vary, officer feedback is showing that when ward meetings started again after the pandemic, attendance was higher than pre-pandemic levels and are remaining largely similar year to year now. Residents, as we all know, contact us very regularly via email and phone and other means, so attending ward meetings is not the only way that they can contact us. So I am urging members to reject this motion because I reiterate that the recommendations are not practical, workable or cost-effective. Many wards have not used their funds to spend in this way, and I know in particular, Lord Mayor, that West Fenham has not spent all of its ward budget yet. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. Can Councillor Nabila Ali please stand ready? Councillor Chisholm, please. Oh, sorry. That's okay, I'll step. Is it not working? The microphones are not working, gentlemen at the back. Oh, there's another one coming. Thanks very much. Councillor Chisholm.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. So we all know that one size does not fit all when it comes to engaging with our communities. And different wards have different needs and different participants engage in different ways. I'm sorry, Lord Mayor.
It's okay, take your time.
I'll get someone else to read it for me. I did write it, but I can't see very well.
I'll be happy if you want someone else to read it for you, yes.
Different wards have different dynamics, different needs, and very different patterns of participation. And within wards, there is huge variety too. It is the opposite of localism to bring a citywide motion calling for a very specific letter to be sent to households across the city. And in my view, it's not a good use of resources to send letters about past letters that may or may not have been sent about meetings that are over. The motion claims that annual ward meetings are considered by many residents to be a key part of engagement and accountability. I think they are, but we have to face the fact that they only ever attract a tiny proportion of residents. I'm pretty confident the problem isn't the lack of a letter. In my experience, the most successful ward meetings are the ones where we hand the reins to local community groups. For example, when ward grant recipients come and talk about what they've achieved with the funding and what their future plans are. I recently attended a community planning session at Dwellbeing in Shieldfield. It used creative, thoughtful methods to draw people in, moving around the room, voting with counters, small group discussions. That kind of engagement works. Instead of spending time debating letters, I'd much rather we spend time as a council talking about how we can learn from methods like these and how we support councillors and communities to design engagement that fits their ward. Motions like this put people off politics by focusing on mechanics rather than substance. While we talk about letters today, there are far too many people in our city in damp, unsuitable housing, young people who don't think they'll ever have a secure job, and refugees turfed out on the streets days after having their right to asylum confirmed. As you know, Lord Mayor, I've recently joined the Green Party. For the first time since the general election, I've had people contact me to say if they think I'm doing the right thing. Faith in politics is at an all-time low in this country, and a different way of doing politics is needed. It has been a genuine delight to be part of a party where people try out ideas in a discursive way, genuinely listen to one another, and allow for principled disagreement without whipping or stage-managed unanimity. I think that's part of the reason the Greens are the fastest growing party in the country. People want politics that focuses on tackling hard problems, not on motions about last year's envelopes.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Chisholm and Councillor Peters. Alistair, if you need any extra help sitting in that place, if you just have a conversation with Linda at some point. Okay, thank you. Where are we? Right. Councillor Ashby was asked to speak after Councillor Nabila Rally.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This motion sounds very good in theory, but in practice is costly and unnecessary. Our focus should be on real engagement and not on sending letter just for the sake of appearances. Lord Mayor, no one here doubts the importance of engaging with residents. Annual ward meetings are a vital part of our local democracy, a chance for people to meet their councillor, ask questions and share their ideas, and of course make us accountable. This motion calls on Cabinet to identify every household that did not receive a ward meeting letter and provide the funding to the council so council can write to each household informing them of any ward meeting that has occurred and assuring them that the situation will not arise again. Let us be clear, what does this motion mean in practice? Newcastle has over 130,000 households. Complying with this motion mean it would cost us tens of thousands of pounds for printing letters, buying envelopes, paying for postage, and using the staff time. In this motion, the opposition also has raised a serious concern about using the ward budget for the publicity, which would cut vital welfare services. I'm struggling to understand. If welfare services are genuine concern for the opposition, then how would it make sense to send tens of thousands of pounds letter to every household, most of which will go unopened? Instead of using that money to support the residents who genuinely depend on welfare services, I wonder why each ward does not hold its annual ward meeting at the same time, date, and venue every year, and publish this information in councillors' material, social media, and permanently on the council's website. Over time, residents will know when and where to go to attend their annual ward meeting. Eliminating residents to know and send the letter forever. There will be no need to send any letter to any residents and save us money, tens of thousands of pounds. This simple eco-friendly change
Councillor Ashby, Councillor Taylor,
would address both opposition's residents. This simple eco-friendly advice would address opposition's both concerns, residents' engagement and cuts to welfare services. If the opposition still wishes to proceed this motion, in that case, they have to answer the public why they are choosing to spend tens of thousands of public money when free options are available. This motion is not about public engagement, residents' engagement, welfare, value for money. This motion is just about following a process blindly. I urge the council vote against this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ali, and apologise for the interruption. Councillor Mark Donnelly has also indicated he'd like to speak, so Councillor Ashby.
Lord Mayor, I believe that Councillor Taylor had submitted that she would like to speak on this motion, and I'm prepared to...
well, Councillor Taylor can speak if she wishes, yes.
OK, fine. So, Lord Mayor, I'm really concerned at what I'm hearing here, that we're putting a price on democracy, on participation, on allowing people to become... We're supposed to be an engaging kind of council. We're supposed to want to hear what our residents say. And yet, over the last 10 years, or 12 years since I've been a councillor, we have reduced the opportunities for local people to come along to public meetings and have their say. When I first came, we were having on a quarterly basis, then we were on an annual basis, and now it seems that we're on this very special one where we are only including people who have digital access. What happened to the participation, the idea that we will go digital by desire, not by fiat from the administration? When I first became a councillor, we had a ward budget of £20,000. We're now down to £4,000. We do not believe that we can communicate adequately with all of those people who want to come to our ward meetings. And I would say that in the case of Parklands, we're getting 100 and plus local residents coming along when they have the opportunity to have their say. It seems to me that this is an entirely backwards-leaning council. We don't want to hear from people. Well, we do want to hear from people, and we think that we should be giving them that opportunity, and we should not just be depending on social media, which is not reaching all the people who are seeking to represent. And we are quite capable of sending out letters to every member of this resident who lives in the city when we want to get money from them. But when we want to get their opinion, we're saying, oh, well, we can't afford it. It seems to me this is entirely negative and entirely wrong, and I support the motion.
Thank you very much. Can Councillor Taylor please stand ready? Councillor Mark Donnelly.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And just to echo some of the points which have already been raised, I just cannot believe the debate that we've been having this evening when you contemplate that this authority is quite happy to send out a letter every year to inform residents that they've got to pay the council tax. And yet here, excuse me, quiet,
please be quiet,
please. And,
Councillor.
We'll just wait.
Councillor Donnelly, Councillor Powers, can you please stop having a discussion across the chamber, or I'll exclude both of you. Okay? Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And yet, when it comes to informing our residents that we are holding a meeting, we don't think they're valuable enough. What price can you put on democracy? We'll have one meeting a year, and yet we're not willing, as part of the contract that we have when we replace digital print, so all of the arrangements are in place where we can send out a letter, and it can be stamped second class, and it can be sent through the post office, and residents have the choice and the ability to come along to a meeting where they can meet various different officers. Lord Mayor, this council states that it's fair, it's open, and it's transparent. And yet, we want to empty room our residents by not informing them of when meetings take place. Well, that just shows us where we place our residents. So we're happy to inform them that they'll have to pay the council tax, and that'll be done through a letter, but we're not happy to inform them when they've got issues to be able to come along to a public meeting. Shameful, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor, I'm sorry about the mix-up earlier.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It seems to me that the other side have completely failed to answer the main question that was asked, which is who made the decision to stop sending out letters to residents to inform them of the meeting, and why was it done in secret? Why was it not done properly, either through Constitutional Committee or through Council? I've been on the council a long time, and I've been to many ward committees, and some are better than others, but we've had some very engaged people. We've had a lot of issues discussed. People enjoy not just telling their own opinion, but discussing that with their neighbours and friends and getting a general view about the issues that concern the ward. And if they're not informed about the meeting, how can they do that, particularly when it's only once a year? Now, to answer the point about the letters, nobody said that it has to be a separate letter. It could go in with something else. It could go in with a council tax bill. It could go in with some other information that residents are receiving on a regular basis. All we're saying is that residents should be informed that they should have been informed about the meeting, and they will be in future. It's not too much to ask. We only have that one meeting once a year. We should give everyone in the ward the chance to attend, discuss with their neighbours, their friends, the officers, the police, the councillors, exactly what the issues are, and come to some decisions about what the priorities are for the ward in the coming year. I think ward committees remain a very important part of this council's processes, and we should make sure that everyone gets the information needed.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mark Mitchell has the right to reply.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll respond to a specific point first of all. West Fenham has not allocated all its budget, but as in previous years, West Fenham will continue to allocate whatever funds are left to support the Welfare Rights Service. That is what we have done for the last 2 years, and that is what we will continue to do. So to attack us because we haven't finalised that, I think is totally unfair. This motion is being completely misinterpreted. First of all, I would point out this is a request to Cabinet. So when members opposite lecture me about financial decisions, I'm sure Cabinet are perfectly capable of looking at a motion and working out what is affordable and what is not. Secondly, Royal Mail is not the only way to deliver information by paper to people in the city. There are other services they and others offer. I would point out to the Greens that they know all about personal delivery, because I believe you delivered quite a few leaflets by hand to doors in the South Jesmond by-election. And yes, you won it, but that was in part because you know that a piece of paper through a door is one of the most effective ways of communicating with voters. Now, to address the other concerns, if a ward committee feels that there is other publicity of their ward meeting, that they don't feel these letters are necessary, nobody is saying that they have to be sent. But you have councillors here tonight telling you that this is a key way that their electors find out about these meetings. And we know about digital exclusion. We know there are people in this city who do not have access to the internet, who do not have Facebook access, and who rely on the mail to get information. And when for these people, the only way they hear about this is through a piece of paper, it is unconscionable that somebody in secret made the decision to take that away. So I would say to the Cabinet, I think it's perfectly appropriate to work with councillors to say, how do we save some money here? How do we publicise ward meetings in a way that is inclusive for everybody? But I think making decisions in secret and then telling us we are wasting money or we are wasting resources when we want to make sure that every single voter knows what this council is doing is simply trying to hide the fact that you apparently don't believe that the work of ward committees is worth publicising and of ward meetings is worth publicising to every voter in this city.
Thank you very much. Is the motion agreed? No. Okay. Can we move to the vote, please, Linda? Okay. Oh. Has everyone who can voted? Oh, yes. There you go. Right. Right, is everybody who can vote electronically voted? So as it's a name vote, anyone who hasn't been able to vote electronically, you'll need to stand, say your name, and then which way you're voting, okay? So we'll start here. And you are? Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, sorry, yes? Okay, thank you. Any abstentions? Okay, so that was 24 for and 33 against. Thank you. So we now move on to item 15, underspent section 106 funds. Oh, I see Councillor Stone is ready. Thank you, Councillor Stone. Can Councillor Mark Mitchell be ready to second, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm grateful for the opportunity to draw attention to Section 106 funding. It's not often a topic of public conversation, but the steady accumulation of unspent 106 contributions in recent years deserves public scrutiny. The Council's budget is under strain, funding for infrastructure is scarce, but how many are aware of the scale of unspent funding that Council has accrued in recent years? Tens of millions of pounds in 106 agreements for new highways infrastructure, affordable housing, education and healthcare facilities, and green space and community facilities. Now, in a past life, I used to prepare Section 106 agreements up and down the country. I know it's not a straightforward process. It does not happen by magic. It involves a great deal of foresight and leadership to lay the groundwork to prepare sites and get project teams in place. This is not a quick or easy process, but Newcastle has amongst the most unspent funding available to it outside in the London authorities. It's been steadily accumulating in recent years, but the rate it's being spent is far lower than the amount which is coming in the council's coffers. Thousands of new homes have been built, but the 106 requirement for affordable housing, for schools, for highway improvements, and the capacity to deliver the infrastructure lags far behind. Now, I think the council should be aware that there are bottlenecks in the system, and it should have a plan to address them. Ensuring the council has the capacity to manage multiple capital projects is essential. This problem will grow even further if the Labour government's house building aspirations and the local plan are to be delivered. Attention is needed to this now. So we challenge the administration to defend why it's sitting on an estimated £42 million of unspent 106 funding, including £10 million for affordable housing, £12 million for education facilities, with just £6 million of 106 funding being spent last year. We are unclear what the strategy is for getting this money out of the door and getting shovels in the ground, whether there is adequate oversight to this blockage, to troubleshooting the hold-ups, putting in place the delivery mechanisms and organisational capacity. And we are very mindful on this side of the Chamber, Lord Mayor, of the significant housing waiting list for new social and affordable housing citywide. We are sure the administration is too. But it's not good enough, if you are desperate for affordable and social housing in our city, for the council to have £10 million earmarked for affordable homes unspent and no obvious plan for delivering that. If you're an older person in Kingston Park or Dinnington needing to access local primary health care, nor is it good enough that the council spent just 6% of the 106 funding available to it to improve green space, ecology and green infrastructure last year. Community infrastructure levy commitments are also a related concern. Now, we called in the Outer West Leisure Centre project recently to seek assurances that the council can deliver a large SIL allocation to that project, whilst also delivering existing citywide SIL commitments. And we recognise that a senior officer has offered that commitment. But the opposition has been doing the sums, and we're not confident that the maths are mathing. We are not confident there is a clear plan for ensuring delivery of the leisure centre, the A696 junction improvement project to enable further new housing sites to be developed, and all of the existing and the future in increasing 106 agreements at the same time. Now, homes will continue to spring up across the city, particularly in the Outer West and the North West. But when will the community infrastructure follow? There's a massive challenge ahead. The opposition is not confident that it will be met for many years to come if the current administration continues on its current course. Now, we've discussed this with developer stakeholders. We've asked officers what is being done about it. We are on top of this issue when others may not be. We have the professional knowledge and the track record to tackle it. Lib Dem authorities in other parts of the country are delivering significant new build social housing programmes in authorities like Sutton and Portsmouth. Now, we believe on this side of the chamber that Newcastle deserves better. We are ready to deliver the leadership and the culture change needed to deliver the social housing and the infrastructure Newcastle needs. A Lib Dem-led council will make this an urgent priority from May, not an afterthought. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. Seconded by Councillor Mark Mitchell. Sorry? Reserve the right. Right. Okay. Can Councillor Cookson please stand ready? Councillor Herridge, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just first off, if that's the extent of Councillor Stone's mathing ability, I would suggest that he join Unison because they offer a very comprehensive elementary mathematics course for their members. I notice that the motion doesn't mention the fact that £29.7 million of S106 funding has been spent over the last 5 years, including things such as new school places in Great Park, Denon and Callan Academy, strategic highway upgrades including A1 junctions, affordable housing, green infrastructure and recreation facilities. He's right to say that the Council holds £41.5 million of S106 funding, and 84% of that is linked to strategic land release. Now, it's just a simple fact of S106 funding that because it's released gradually as developments take place, it fluctuates. Sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less. And it often, because it's released in steps, doesn't marry up with the times that projects need funding. So there are times where we will have some sitting there waiting to be spent. So let's turn to what this motion is really about. It's, yet again, the Lib Dems deciding to have a go at Labour councillors because we're lazy or incompetent or can't do things for the residents, don't care about the residents. And I would just...
Quiet, please.
Councillor Stone, I'm not a woman, so you don't have to interrupt us.
Okay, can you get on with your speech, please?
Yes, I'm getting it. Yes, where was I? Of course, yes. So I would suggest that the opposition be very careful about this, because it undermines public trust in the position of an elected councillor. And when you see posts online or people sharing things around, they don't say Labour councillor, they don't say Lib Dem councillor, they say councillor. And it'll be just as bad for you as it is for us if you continue to undermine the role of a council with ridiculous motions such as this one. It's a complete and utter disservice to the position.
Thank you very much. Can Councillor Mark Donnelly stand ready? Councillor Cookson, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's an honour and a privilege to serve as a councillor for Ousbourne Ward, one of the wards that's seen significant levels of development in recent years. And with development, thanks to officers' hard work, comes developer contributions. When I was first elected as a councillor, I really struggled to obtain information on the quantum of Section 106 funding. And when I did get that information, I was shocked by the amount of unspent money. I just can't square the circle whereby the council has for years struggled with a lack of funds, but it still can't seem to deliver on projects funded by Section 106 contributions. And let's be clear, the reason for the Section 106 or SIL contributions is to offset or mitigate against the impact of the development on that community. And by not spending the money, the communities who are most impacted by the development don't get the mitigations they need and deserve. In Ousbourne Ward, we've seen funding obtained for a parking permit scheme on Crocus Street, required as a result of the development of a student accommodation block nearby, being instead diverted to pay for a junction improvement on Percy Street and Gallagher, a project that in itself is long stalled. Meanwhile, residents continue to suffer from the impact of unrestricted car parking in a residential area between the city centre and the very popular Ousbourne Valley. However, it's not all bad. Councillor Kane and I do seem to be making some progress in Ousbourne Ward, having convened a working party of ward members, officers and community groups who meet regularly to discuss projects in progress. We've spent some money on floodlights at the Mugger. We're anticipating costs from colleagues in procurement for an upgrade to the running track. We've spent money on the Christmas lights in the Ousbourne Valley, and we've also had the swings repaired in Heaton Park, albeit that was from another unspent pot from the sale of Heaton Library back in 2007. While we're grateful for the support of officers, officer resource does seem to remain the pinch point. In short, it is possible with sufficient focus and effort by all parties to deliver some small projects, but we desperately need a plan to upscale that if we're going to be able to deliver projects across the city for the benefit of our residents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can Councillor Power stand ready, please? Councillor Mark Donnelly.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The One Course strategy was agreed by the City Council in 2016, and it set out core principles to build approximately 3,000 homes, local centres, new primary school provision, health provision and associated infrastructure improvements. Prior to a single house being built, the traffic through Westover Village had and was continuing to grow. Councillor Henry Murison, who was the Cabinet member at the time overseeing these plans, stated the following: "There will be a road and there will be investment to make sure that these new houses we add to an already congested route don't make the situation worse." And he went on further to state the following: "Whatever happens, there will be massive investment in public transport here." As of today, 9 years later, we have not seen the investment to deal with the congested routes. To make matters worse, we are told that there is insufficient monies to cover the cost of some of the schemes. The two medical centres, one at Lower Callerton and the other at West Middle Callerton, is not happening. Neither has a brick been laid for the new primary school. And as far as the massive investment in public transport goes, the bus service was removed from an existing estate in Chapel House and moved to the new estate. I would say there needs to be an urgent investigation as the strain on the current highway network on this already congested route is unbearable, and we need the promise of investment that we were given by the assurances of both Councillor Henry Murison and, of course, this City Council. Residents have been failed, we have had an increase in the population, and services and infrastructure have not increased at the same rate. Whilst at the same time, this council has increased its council tax base year on year, but yet it sits on these ring-fence funds of up to 42 million, while we are aware that the infrastructure which is so desperately needed has not been put in place. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Powers.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. We must take residents' concerns seriously, and I understand why large figures around Section 106 funding can raise questions. But the motion from the Liberal Democrats does not help clarify the situation. Instead, it risks misleading the public about what Section 106 funding is, how it works, and how the Council uses it. To be clear, Section 106 agreements are legal contracts tied to planning permissions. The Council cannot simply spend the money wherever it chooses. Every pound is ring-fenced to the purpose set out in the legal agreement. It isn't a free-floating pot. It's legally restricted, tightly controlled, and in many cases phased over long periods of time. But this Labour-run Council is delivering with it. Over the past 5 years, the Council has invested nearly 30 million in Section 106 funding in vital infrastructure, including new schools, places in Dayton, new schools in the Great Park in Callington, major upgrades to the A1 junction, supporting the wide road network, and affordable houses, green infrastructure and recreational spaces. This work is happening. It's continuous and reflects years of careful planning with our communities. The majority of the current 106 balance, around 84%, relates to strategic land releases. These are major housing areas built over many years. Payments arrive in phases. Infrastructure demand isn't always appear on day one, and funding does not always arrive on day one either. The timing mismatch is a challenge of an ever-fasting growing city, but it's not a sign of inaction. It is simply how the system is designed to work. And while Councillor Stone might be aware of the tricks of the trade when it comes to planning, we on this side are honest about transparency. The Council already reports Section 106 and SIL commitments publicly, twice yearly at Planning Committee, and annual infrastructure funding statements. The Labour Cabinet has already committed to improve reporting and monitoring systems further. These are not new ideas raised by tonight's motions, they are already in train. So when the opposition claims that nothing's been done or implies that money is gathering dust, they are not describing the actual picture. They're creating a false one based on fantasy to write the fiction in their newsletters. And it can't go unsaid. This motion reads more like this motion reads less like a genuine attempt to improve delivery and more like attempts to manufacture a headline. Much of what I asked for already exists, and the rest is trying to spin a narrative that the Cabinet is asleep at the wheel, when the truth is officers and Cabinet members have been working constantly to bring forward schools, roads and facilities to match the pace of development. Residents deserve honesty around how 106 money works, not political theatre. They deserve a council that plans responsible and not one that is pressured into rushing capital projects for the sake of an opposition press release. Lord Mayor, Section 106 is not about spending quickly. It is about spending properly. And it is this Labour-run council that is doing exactly this. For those reasons, I can't support the motion, and I urge all colleagues to do the same.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mitchell, you reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's always a slight concern when you bring a motion to council that talks about something like Section 106, because you know that most voters in the city will have no idea what you're talking about. But I have a little story for Councillor Barry Stanners. I was door knocking in a ward recently. 3 different voters raised Section 106 on the doorstep. You might be interested to know that that's Castle Ward. So voters, anytime voters...
Point of order, Lord Mayor.
Oh, sorry, yes.
My name is Councillor Herridge. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I apologise, Councillor Herridge.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, please continue, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. Sorry, I apologise. But the fact remains that this motion came in part because voters on the doorstep in wards in this city are starting to talk about this. And as I say, when they're starting to talk about Section 106, you know that there's an issue. I'm going to highlight two things that were mentioned. You referred to 42 million. Last year it was 36. So this money is going up, not down. And the amount of money specifically relating to affordable housing is going up, not down. Now let's talk about what that means. That means affordable housing in this city is not being built fast enough to meet the needs of the residents of Newcastle. And Councillor Powers can sit there and say, well, it's all about the agreements. Yes, it is about the agreements. It is about the fact that we are currently entering into agreements that let developers get away with not building affordable housing in their own developments, funding it way too slowly, and frankly, not doing it across the whole city. There is no new affordable housing being built in West Penham. There is no new affordable housing being built in a series of wards across the city because the council is not properly managing the process. You wanted to make this a political debate, and our answer to that one is very clear. Liberal Democrat councils across the country are doing a better job of getting better 106 agreements, of getting better agreements to spend money on affordable housing, on making sure that affordable housing is generally being built in communities, not being built outside them, and that affordable housing is actually getting built now, not in 5, 10, 15, 25 years. Because, based on the rate of spending in Newcastle right now, it would take 25 years for this money to be spent. So yes,
I'm aware I'm going to let the councillor speak. I'd do it to all of you. I'd give you an opportunity to finish, but not too long.
So in summary, this is an issue that residents are talking about. This is an issue that residents care about. This is an issue that Newcastle needs to get better at. And if Labour won't take some responsibility, then they should let other people who will do the job.
Okay. Councillor Stone, do you wish to sum up?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I note there is no amendment from the Labour side, so I'm assuming they're going to vote against this, but I think they will be held to account for that by their constituents, including Councillor Herridge's constituents. Councillor Herridge has offered me a lesson in elementary maths. I would remind him that the figure has been growing and growing and growing in recent years. The rate of spend is far, far behind the rate at which it's been accumulating. And I would ask him to want to question, as I am questioning, why it is that Newcastle is doing so much worse than many other councils in England. That is a question that I think is worth asking, because it is not something that is happening everywhere, but it is happening here in Newcastle, and the opposition is asking why that is. Presumably there is no answer from Councillor Herridge on that point. So on this, I would also like to remind him that if the opportunity to speak in this debate came up, if I was in Councillor Herridge's position, I would have been calling on the NHS local panel to speed up the allocation process to make sure that a primary healthcare centre can be delivered for his residents in his area. That is urgently needed. That's what people are telling us on the doorsteps they need in that area. But Councillor Herridge has nothing to say on that, so I am disappointed that he's missed a trick on that one, frankly. I will also happily sit down with officers again, as I have done already on this issue, to ask about what is being done to speed up this process and why Newcastle's 106 figures is accumulating and accumulating and accumulating every year, and the amount going out the door is so small. Councillor Powers can come too as well, if you like, and perhaps you might learn something at that. So we can look at ways in which the 106 spend rate can be improved. And then we've talked about numbers and maths and mathematical knowledge, and I would invite the party opposite to talk to me about what the burn rate is in terms of the commitment of the current rate of 106 spend and compared to how much is growing every year. So there's something is going wrong somewhere, and we are pointing that out, and they are clearly not listening to us on that point. So I will make one final point, and I had my professional integrity insulted by Councillor Powers tonight. I would like to just come back at him one more time if I can. I've done this before in many authorities around the country. I'm happy to teach you some lessons on this, and we will do it again if we get the chance. I'm delighted to invite Councillor Powers to learn something on this from me, because he might actually learn something important. Okay. Thank you very much, Lord
Thank you very much. Is that motion agreed? Okay, can we move to the vote, please? Okay, everybody's finished. If you haven't had the chance to vote electronically and you're in favour of the motion, please show now. We needed people to stand before because it was a named vote, so we needed to know their name, but we don't need with this one. Yep. Okay. Anyone against, please show. Okay. 3. Yeah. Any abstentions? No. Okay. Okay, so that's 26 in favour of the motion and 29 against. Thank you very much. Next motion, Project Orpheus. Can I call on Councillor Higgins to move this motion, to be seconded by Councillor Phillipson? Thank you.
Wow, Project Orpheus at last. Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. Having had the best part of 25 years to prepare this speech, I do feel under a certain amount of pressure to get it right. The green shoots of Project Orpheus first began to appear around the time of the millennium as part of our ambitious Going for Growth regeneration strategy. The plan was finalised shortly afterwards to finally bring modern transport into the west end of the city and beyond, including street-running trams into the busiest corridor, including the district heart of Benwell. As some of you students of the classics might be aware, Orpheus was a figure in Greek mythology who travelled into the darkened underworld to bring back his much-loved wife imprisoned there. I am not suggesting that a painstaking journey on the 39 or 40 along a clogged west road quite resembles the ordeal of Orpheus, but I must admit to peering longingly at the public transport provision in other more affluent parts of our city. I gaze in awe at the new modern metro trains rolling off the production line and think to myself, if only. I can only admire the bus shelters on Gosforth High Street and Chillingham Road that are positively palatial compared with the flimsy shelters dotted occasionally along Armstrong Road and Wickham View in our own ward, which offer little protection from the weather to those poor souls huddled and shivering inside. It is basically a two-tier public transport system in our city, run largely by private operators, which sadly disadvantages some of those who are in the greatest need. Quality public transport has long been recognised as an important supporting factor in the process of successful regeneration and social inclusion. Public transport fosters social mobility by providing access to jobs, education and healthcare, especially for those who lack their own private motor vehicles. Reliable, affordable and accessible public transport connects people to opportunities in life, whilst poor, inadequate systems create barriers that limit potential and can exacerbate feelings of social exclusion. At the time of Project Orpheus, one of the barriers was said to be the cost to the public purse. Having previously carried out a comprehensive feasibility study, we estimated an overall cost in the region of £100 million. Too much was the cry. However, shortly afterwards, we learned that the cost of the Elizabeth line in London had risen to over £14 billion, and only recently funding for the Docklands Light Railway has been announced in the budget at a cost of £1.7 billion. And please don't get me onto the topic of HS2. I am therefore delighted that finally significant funding has now been devolved to regional mayors, including our own regional mayor Kim McGuinness, which will enable a more equitable spread of investment in public transport, particularly across parts of the North East region. As someone who grew up in the West End herself, I know that Kim is acutely aware of the importance of good and affordable public transport as a means of addressing social exclusion. Her steps taken to limit the cost of rising fares and make public transport much more accountable to the communities that it serves by bringing buses back under public control are to be applauded. The framework of a regional transport plan has been announced after a widespread consultation, which will improve the network in our region over the next 20 years and bring added benefits to so many. So my plaintive cry, which has echoed over so many years in endless meetings time and again, is what about bringing the metro or trams into the West End? In conclusion, therefore, I would ask Council to agree to request that we should ask transport officers at the North East Combined Authority to revisit the exciting and ambitious proposals as set out originally in Project Orpheus, which would enhance the current ongoing regeneration of the West End and beyond, and bring real benefits to some of our more isolated and disadvantaged communities. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Higgins. Can Councillor Cookson stand by, please, to move the amendment? I now have, who was it? Oh, sorry, Councillor Phillipson, 2 seconds. Reserve the right. No bother. Councillor Cookson, and can Councillor Stone be ready to second, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm grateful to Councillor Higgins for bringing this motion to the Council. I totally agree that residents in the West End of the city need better public transport routes. I'm also grateful to him for highlighting the London-centric funding system implemented by the last government and unfortunately appearing to be perpetuated by this new Labour government. I am, however, a little confused by some of the detail in this. Project Orpheus, as far as I can recall, was based around the idea that when the metro fleet was to be replaced, it would be replaced with a generation of trams that could run on both the existing network and on the streets of Newcastle, including the West End. And I'm sure, as Councillor Higgins knows, Project Orpheus was cancelled in, I think, 2004. And after many delays, Treasury eventually funded the metro fleet replacement on a like-for-like basis. And we're currently receiving the new 555s onto the network, admittedly not without our teething problems. I sincerely hope that Councillor Higgins isn't proposing to scrap the brand new fleet and revert back to a hybrid solution using trams. I'm also mindful of Councillor Hartley's plea for honesty in politics. And as far as I'm aware, the reason the metro can't be extended to the west from St James's is both because of the underlying geology and the geography. And since then, the city has also seen the Helix built out, which again, a whole range of buildings built largely on piled foundations. I think we need to be really honest with residents that the metro, in its current format, isn't going west of St James's Park Station anytime within the geological future. There is, however, an option to extend heavy rail west from the central station towards Scotswood. And we've seen recently the proposals come forward for the redevelopment of Forth Yards, which includes an active travel route along the same alignment. Officers have indicated that there is sufficient space for both, but there's no detailed plans to demonstrate that at the moment. And I sincerely hope that those plans come forwards demonstrating that there's reserved space for a heavy rail network to the west of the city. However, I'd note that from contemporary reporting at the time, instead of Project Orpheus, the Chronicle said the passenger transport executive, predecessors to Nexus, were going to be spending around £200 million on better bus links, including new super routes and guided bus systems segregated from other traffic. Effectively a tram network without the expensive rails and the overheads. And that was 21 years ago. And nobody seems to be able to identify if the 200 million was ever requested, awarded or spent. In February 2024, members were briefed on a bus service improvement plan, followed by a consultation in January 2025. And Scotswood was entirely absent from the schemes proposed. There was a scheme for Westgate Road, the Central Motorway, Gosforth High Street and Newbridge Street. And it's now the end of 2025, and there's little sign of progress on the ground. It's almost like delivering actual bus service improvements isn't really a priority. And finally, I do think this presents an opportunity to highlight a bit of a lack of clarity around how ward members can influence the elected mayor's transport plans. On page 130 of the Necker Mayor's North East Local Transport Plan, the delivery plan, under the section Transport Pipeline 28 to 32, there is a scheme numbered NE14. It's described as a new public transport route delivered to the west of Newcastle, promoted by Newcastle City Council, which is described as a new westbound public transport from the Central Station / St James's with a budget of 40 million pounds, brackets Metro. So it's possible that we're not aware of that project, and I'd call for some clarity from the elected mayor on its current status. Is it at the feasibility stage? Is it in mandate, outline business case or full business case? And how is the elected mayor going to ensure that local ward members and the communities they represent are engaged with their transport plans? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stone, a second.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I've been around the public transport debate and governance of public transport in the city for quite a long time. I was on the old Passenger Transport Authority. At very time, Councillor Dodds of Heaton at the time was championing Project Orpheus, and I remember it very, very well indeed. It was a very bad project and a very bad decision, and it had consequences because it led to a long delay in procuring the new replacement metro stock that we are now getting, but it put about 5 or 6 years on that process to make that happen, and I think it was a very ill thought through proposal. So I do have some surprise that Councillor Higgins is trying to revive Project Orpheus. I'm consider it well and truly consigned to the underworld and it should stay there, frankly. I'm surprised, though, at the way he praises the mayor for her transport powers. I think that it's fair to say that since getting the money and her hands on the transport governance in the region, things have not improved from the level of scrutiny and the level of oversight that was in place when the old Passenger Transport Authority days. So I think that's gone a backward step, frankly. And I do question his statement on the palatial bus stops on Shillingham Road. I can only assume that Councillor Higgins has not ever had to try and get the number 1 bus from the corner of Wharton Terrace where there is no shelter at all. So I really do wonder about his realism on that particular prediction. I do want to make a particular statement of praise and endorsement for Councillor Higgins, though. I think he has been a long and doty campaigner for better transport links for the West End and for Scotswood and for parts beyond that in the Outer West as well. And I do recognise that there is a need for having better public transport connections than it has at present. It is underserved. We all accept that, and there needs to be something done there. But I do question his decision to go for Project Orpheus as the way to do that. I went on a useful study visit with my colleague Councillor Welsh of Gateshead to Nottingham a few years ago to see their very impressive tram system, and we recognised it had real potential and it's working very well. And I would note to members opposite that they funded that through a workplace parking levy scheme, as I understand. I think that is something that we've called for on this side for a very long time, and so if we can make that happen in the future in Newcastle, I think it's worth doing. We gave serious thought to a corridor running from the Low Fell and the Angel area running up through Gateshead town centre into Newcastle town city centre and out to West Denton, and we were open-minded about the route that you chose on that, whether you do it on the Scotswood Road or whether you do it on the West Road. We need further work to do that. So that is obviously in the realms of fantasy ambitions at the minute rather than realistic project delivery plans, but it just shows that the thought that we put into doing that and showing a way of funding that as well through the workplace parking levy. So we've got some ideas on doing this. We'd be happy to sort of share our experience and our knowledge on that with Councillor Higgins, but please, please, please don't bring back Project Orpheus. It was a disaster. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, yes. There we go.
Lord Mayor, I'd like to request that we suspend the guillotine to 9 p.m. to debate a little bit more business.
Okay. Is there a seconder? Yeah. Okay. Is that agreed? Okay, can we move to a vote, please? Has everybody who can vote electronically done so? In which case, if you haven't been able to vote electronically and you're in favour of the motion, can you please show? Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyone against? And any abstentions? Okay, there were 26 in favour of suspending the guillotine and 29 against. Right, so we will continue. Councillor Stevenson, I think we've been trying to outdo each other and coughing tonight. And can Councillor Donnelly stand ready, please? He's indicated he'd like to speak. Councillor Stevenson.
Thank you, Lord. Oh, it's Will. In case I cough, I won't come too close to the mic. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Like Councillor Stone and Councillor Higgins and others in the chamber, not that many of us now, I remember well the presentation that was brought to Council about Project Orpheus and all the paperwork that went with it, and how positive it seemed at that time when we were going through discussions around regeneration and development, which weren't always all that positive at that time. Taking transport links in a different route, giving more choice, cleaner, greener energy and transport to this, from the city centre and beyond to the west of the city and indeed the outer west and beyond. Residents in that area for many, many years have paid for the metro through various channels in funding and have never benefited one iota from it because invariably there is no link unless you go into town. And the time on the buses, regardless of how many improvements have been made, because of all the cars on the roads, as we know, and the congestion, it actually takes longer to get into town than it does to get to the coast on the metro from the city centre, from the West End. That's not even the outer west. And we are having all these innovations and houses and regenerations done, and it's about time some measures were put in place for the transport links to get people into the city centre. Some people in my area can't access the metro centre, never mind the city centre. It's impossible to get there on transport, and the bus routes are questionable, I have to say. Now, we in Benwell and Scotswood at the time had meetings with residents who were very rejuvenated at the thought of some kind of other transport links into the city and beyond. And in part of our deliberations around regeneration of the houses, we actually went to Sheffield, and a couple of residents came with us to see the tram lines there and other places. And honestly, the concept of that being in some way, I always question the West Road, because we know the problems we had in Scotswood around capping off the mine shafts, because it's all mine shafts up that area and in the Outer West. But regardless, work was being looked at to do that. Obviously, excuse me, governments change, priorities change, and the city doesn't always become top of the list. Even our own council leadership's changed. However, nothing has happened to do the linkage for the transport and give people the choices in the West End and Outer West. And whatever is done, I would support this motion in starting discussions, whether it be Orpheus, whether it be tram lines, whether it be some other system, to enable residents to have equal opportunities and access. We've got a lot more people living in the West and Outer West, and they deserve the same. Not all of them have cars, and we're trying to detract from all the cars coming in. So what better way to do it than to support this motion, to start it, and that will also incorporate bringing the mayor in as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Can Councillor Kilgour stand ready? Councillor Mark Donnelly, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And just to start by reiterating some of the points which have been made by Councillor Stevenson, it is great to look west and certainly to the Outer West for public transport improvements. And I know that Councillor Higgins has worked extremely hard over the years to try and focus the attention of officers and those at Nexus to get improvements within the Outer West. However, sometimes it's concerning that we're talking about the metro in St James's Park, and when did it become the end of the line? And that's what I'm worried about now, and I think we need to ensure that we safeguard land. We need to ensure that new development will not stop or prevent the metro from extending in the future. And I think if we do all of that, we do have some hope to look towards improving the links and the transport to the Outer West. And to end, we've discussed the name Project Orpheus. Well, maybe we should change it to Project Higgins, which would be appropriate because to be fair, he has tried for some years. But I do think it's great to put the focus back to the Outer West, and let's look towards some hope to get some improvements. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kilgour.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Higgins and Phillipson, for your steadfast commitment to improving public transport in the areas you represent. I agree with you both that we must ensure all residents can access the opportunities our city offers. Project Orpheus, or an updated version of it, remains a key ambition for this council. The Outer West continues to be underserved by public transport and faces real barriers to connectivity. We know that historic mine workings, the absence of rail corridors and dense housing makes delivery challenging, but we cannot let complexity stall progress. For a city that values fairness and social mobility, we must and will do more. And I want to assure you that I'm committed to ensuring that the needs of our residents in the west of the city are not overlooked in regional planning. We've been meeting with transport leads at NECA to move this agenda forward and have further meetings planned in the new year. Through these discussions, we're making Newcastle's case at a strategic level. And at the same time, the North East Combined Authority is developing a regional transport plan, and Newcastle City Council is actively contributing to ensuring that that plan reflects our ambition for better public transport in the west of the city. To inform this plan, NECA will be conducting an early feasibility study informed by Newcastle's movement strategy, which will look to improve public transport links to the west of Newcastle. I understand that workshops will be held engaging with local stakeholders to identify practical solutions for design and development, ensuring that all our communities are included in shaping future transport provision. And as a council, we're taking responsibility for driving this process, ensuring residents' needs are prioritised and that we deliver improvements for the West End. This progress reflects the determination of councillors who have ensured Newcastle's priorities are being considered as part of the wider regional transport strategy. Change won't happen overnight, but by supporting this motion we can make a clear commitment to social mobility and inclusion. As a council, we will strive to ensure that our residents have access to modern and reliable public transport links to enrich the quality of life for all of our residents, wherever they live in the city. I support the motion, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Phillipson, you reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to second the motion brought before Council tonight by Councillor Higgins. We all know of Rob's long-standing campaigning to get better rail networks, better transport facilities in the inner and outer west to enhance the opportunities for people in our areas. I'm one of those, like Councillor Higgins, who can, I'm not sure if Rob can though, still remember the rail service which ran from the central station to Wylam. That's giving my age away, but never mind. For the people of the inner and outer west areas, it was hoped that Project Orpheus would enable them to take advantage of employment opportunities as well as leisure activities. Sadly, the project never reached our area, and there were a number of factors why this happened. Some we've heard, some we know only all too well. There was a change in the administration of this council, and sadly, Orpheus died at that time in 2004, was never pursued further. On top of that, we had a Tory Lib Dem government in 2010, and until the Tories ditched them in 2014, of course, leaving a total of 14 years of austerity and cuts to public services. Lord Mayor, now we have an elected mayor in Kim McGuinness, I'm pleased to say a former Leamington Ward councillor, who with the North East Combined Authority has released an ambitious regional transport plan with funding from the Labour government to be delivered by 2040. Lord Mayor, this is an opportune time for Cabinet to ask our officers and those of the Combined Authority to look again at the proposals set out in Project Orpheus, or indeed an updated version as part of the regional transport plan to bring real benefits to the communities in the inner and west and the outer west of Newcastle. Lord Mayor, this isn't the first time I've spoken on the difficulties we face in the inner west and outer west regarding public transport. Newburn Riverside Business Park, big development in the outer west, sitting at the bottom of Leamington Ward. We had a ridiculous situation where public transport failed to serve us in the outer west. People in Leamington couldn't get a bus to Newburn Riverside Business Park. They had to go into town to get a bus back. Absolutely ridiculous. Access to health services. We all know that in the outer west, and I'm sure in the inner west, people require at least 2 bus services to get to a hospital and another 2 to get back. If they're on limited incomes, it becomes nigh impossible. This project, led by Kim McGuinness and the transport plan, and the work with our officers within the local authority and Cabinet pressing this agenda, as Karen has just pointed out, gives us the opportunity to go forward with this project. And I think I would urge Council to reject the amendment and vote for the motion. Thanks, Lord Mayor.
Okay, thank you. The guillotine is now fallen. However, Councillor Higgins does have the right to reply to the motion.
Yes, the hour is late, Lord Mayor, so I will try to mercifully keep it brief. But having read the amendment, it does sadden me that the opposition party opposite, rather than seeking to unite behind the sentiments of the motion that would benefit so many residents in the city, seem to have been preferred to rake over the past somewhat, and in my opinion seek to just score some cheap political points. Rather than working constructively with the regional mayor and the regional...
One meeting, please. Sorry, continue, Councillor Higgins.
Rather than working constructively with the regional mayor and the regional transport authority, they appear more inclined to want to find fault, criticise past events, and generate controversy to suit their own ends. In view of the lateness of the hour, I don't intend to address the full details of the amendment, and it may well be that investment in transport in recent years could have been made more wisely. However, I would also remind the party opposite of their own record when in power between 2004 and 2011, when little or no progress was made in the regeneration of the West End on transport or any other issues, and a period of stagnation was only ended when the Labour Party regained control of our city and began to make real progress again from 2011 onwards. As a result, we now have new houses, better schools that are vastly improved from many years ago, to the extent that some are recently rated excellent in Ofsted, reports that would have been almost unknown many years ago. A modern transport system can only add to the progress that we have made under the present administration. I have already received a favourable response.
Can you please be quiet, Councillor Stone? I've heard you several times. Okay, please give... Councillor Higgins is a former Lord Mayor and he's an elected member. Can we please give him the respect? And he should say, please be quiet. Councillor Higgins.
Can I also add, Lord Mayor, that during that stagnant period between 2004 and 2011, I think Councillor Stone was the Cabinet member actually at the time, so they would perhaps have just mentioned that.
Yeah, come on, Councillor Higgins.
But anyway, I have already received a favourable response to my approaches from the Regional Mayor and her Transport Executive, and hope that we can build constructively on this in the months that lie ahead. Hence, I would urge Council this evening to support my motion in its current form as a positive and constructive approach to improving transport in the West End of our city, and reject the somewhat adversarial and unhelpful tone of the amendment proposed by the party opposite. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is the amendment agreed? Okay, we'll move to a vote, please. Has everybody who can vote electronically had a chance? Yeah. Okay. If you're in favour of the amendment, can you please show your hands now? If you're against the amendment, can you please have a show of hands? Yeah. Any abstentions? That is 20 for the amendment, 28 against and 6 abstentions. Is the substantive motion agreed? Thank you. Sorry? Did somebody say no? No. Right, okay, well, we'll have another vote. Everybody finished voting electronically? Okay. If you're unable to vote electronically and you're in favour of the motion, please show. If you're against the motion, please show. If you're abstaining, please show. So that is 437, against 0 and 17 abstentions. Thank you very much. I'll now go through each of the other items in turn, asking the proposer if they want to deal with it tonight or have it held over to the next meeting. So item 17, anti-stigma approach for Newcastle City Council. Councillor Walker would like it determined tonight?
If it's agreeable with Councillor Taylor, we'll deal with it tonight.
Yep. Okay. Seconder, Councillor Taylor. Does Council agree the motion? Thank you. Item 18, Stars in Our Schools. Councillor Barry Stanners, do you want to deal with it tonight or hold it over? This evening, right. Okay. Who's the seconder on this? Councillor Kilgar? Yep. Okay. There is an amendment to be formally moved by Councillor Mark Mitchell and seconded by, oh, hang on, it's changed, hasn't it? Yes, Councillor Ferguson, yep. Thank you. Okay. Is the amendment agreed? No. Okay, let's have a vote. Well. Amendment, yeah. This is on the amendment, yes. So everybody finished if they can. That's right. If you haven't managed to vote electronically and you're in favour of the amendment, please show. Okay. If you're against the amendment, please show. Oh. Sorry, Councillor Lovett, is there an issue? Oh, so it's you, is it, Councillor? Yes, sorry. Right, okay, thank you. It does help us if you stay in your assigned seats. Okay, especially as I have a list here with everyone's photographs on, so I wouldn't know your Councillor Mitchell. Thank you. Right, we're going to redo the vote in the room, okay? Right, the ones who weren't able to vote electronically. Those in favour of the amendment, please show. Right. Those against, please show. Right. And anyone abstaining? No. Okay. That's 20 for the amendment, 33 against and 1 abstention. Is the motion agreed? No? Right, okay. Linda? Right, has anybody managed to vote electronically if they can? Right, those of you in favour of the motion, show of hands, please. 3. Those against? Those abstaining? Okay, that's 34 for, none against and 19 abstentions. It's carried. Item number 19, ethics, investment and procurement. Councillor Cairns, would you like this dealt with tonight or held over? Tonight? Okay, you have a seconder? Councillor Iramali, yes? Okay, thank you. There is an amendment from Councillor Ferguson. Do you want to move that? Yeah. Seconded by Councillor Coles. Thank you. Is the amendment agreed? No. Oh, right, okay. We need another vote, thanks. Is everybody finished? Right. Oh, still going. Everybody finished now? Yeah. Right. Show of hands then. Those of you in favour of the amendment who haven't managed to vote electronically. Those against? 3 again. Any abstentions? Nope. Here, that's 19 for, 28 against and 7 abstentions. Is the motion agreed? Yes? No? Right, okay. You'll have to shout up a bit louder, a bit more than Jeff tonight. Get Linda, please. No. You need an old-fashioned show of hands. Yes, it was working. We'll start that again. We will start that again. Yes. Right, is everyone who can voted? Okay, those in favour of the motion, can you please show your hands? Those against? Any abstentions? No. Okay. Thank you. That was 32 for, none against and 22 abstentions. Next one is short-term rentals, which I gather is going to be proposed by Councillor Mark Mitchell. Do you want to do it tonight? Yeah, okay. Have a seconder. Thank you very much, Councillor Coles. Oh, it's no amendments or anything. Right, okay, great. Does Council agree with the motion? No, no, okay. Give me a vote, please, Linda. Everyone had a chance to vote? Yes? Those in favour of the motion, can you please give a show of hands? Oh, 2. Okay, those against, can you have a show of hands, please? Any abstentions? Okay. That's 23 for, 27 against. Thank you. Item 21, 20 mile per hour zones in residential streets. Councillor Donnelly, do you want to move it tonight or hold it over? Sorry? Move it tonight. Okay, you have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Oh, 2 amendments have been received for this one. Councillor Hay, do you want to move your amendment formally? Thank you. And seconder. Thank you, Councillor Walker. And there's a second amendment from Councillor Mark Mitchell. Yes? You're moving it? Yes? Seconded by Councillor Taylor? Yes? Oh, is it a different Councillor Taylor? Anyway, right. Okay, right. Thank you. Right, so we'll take those amendments in turn. Amendment number 1, which was proposed by Councillor Hay. Is Council in favour? No? Okay, we'll have a vote. Everybody had the chance to vote? Those of you who haven't managed to vote electronically and are in favour of the motion, please show. Sorry, the amendment. Those against the amendment, please show. Any other abstentions? Okay. So that amendment is 4, 28 against 25. Is that right? 28 for, 25 against. Right, okay, thank you. We'll now vote on the second amendment. That's proposed by Councillor Mark Mitchell. Is that amendment agreed? Yes? Oh, really? Can you do that?
It's very simple, Lord Mayor. It's simply to reinstate some of the text from Mr. Donnelly's original motion dealing with... Sorry. Driver feedback signs.
Was that clear to officers?
Do you need me to read it out? I have the same. Yes.
Right, okay.
Sorry, Council. It is the language that's in the original motion. Council further notes other councils like North Tyneside have driver feedback signs which are placed on actual street sign columns. And, and Council resolves to look at the examples of other councils such as North Tyneside with driver feedback signs.
Is that clear to everyone? No?
Lord Mayor, may I explain? So, there's an amendment. The amendment will replace the text of the motion if the amendment is passed. However, we want to retain some of the text from the original motion. You have the text of the original motion, you have the text of the amendment. I've just explained, but I can read them out again if Council really wants me to.
Right. Is everybody happy they have sufficient information to vote? No. No. Well, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, he is moving this amendment to the amendment. So, you know, he has... I mean, how long do you want to stay here while he explains it, you know?
Can I suggest that you read standing orders which specifically provide that an amendment to an amendment can be moved without notice? I did give the Lord Mayor notice, so he had it in front of him, but it's in the standing orders.
Right.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. The guillotine has fallen. I don't believe that we can amend further things at this point.
It is possible to do that. But there is right. Are you happy to move to the vote? Right. No, let's move to the vote then. Right. So all those in favour? Right. We'll vote right. So is the amended amendment agreed? No. No. Right. Sorry, this is the amendment moved by Councillor Mark Mitchell that he has just updated in front of us, which reinserts some lines from Councillor Donnelly's original motion that were taken out by the amendment a few minutes ago. Okay. Right. So we'll move to the vote, have we? Right. That was going so well. Has everybody voted who can vote? Right. Those who... Yeah, okay. Well, those who are in favour of the amended amendment, can you please show? 3. Okay, thank you. Those against the amended amendment? Councillor Powers? Yeah, thought so. 4. Okay, any abstentions? Yeah. Yes. Has it? Right. Did you get that? Councillor Keynes is voting yes. Okay. 425 against 27. 1 abstention? Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah. So is the motion as amended agreed? No? Right, okay, another vote please. Has everybody had a chance to vote? Okay, those of you who haven't, if you're in favour of the motion as amended, please show. 2, 3. Thank you. Those against? 2. Any abstentions? So for the motion, 31 against 23. Item 22, winter maintenance. Councillor Donnelly, do you want to deal with it tonight or at the next meeting? Defer it. Oh, it's the first defer. 23, expansion of the Article 4 directive. Councillor Scholes, do you want to deal with it tonight or... Yes, please. Okay. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Hay, you have an amendment. Are you proposing it? Yeah. Seconded by Councillor Mains. Thank you very much. Is the amendment agreed? Yes? Yes. Oh. That's never happened before. In that case, is the motion as amended agreed? Oh, okay. Okay, colleagues, thank you very much for that. I look forward to seeing you at the next meeting, which will be on match day 6 of the Champions League. Can I wish you all a Merry Christmas or any other festival you may celebrate at this time of year, and have a safe journey home. Thank you.